Chapter 803. A month later, on a remote uninhabited planet in the Devil Domain Grand Starry Sky, Ning Cheng let out a sigh and slowly opened his eyes. His face still looked a little pale. Even after a month of healing and recovery, he still hadn't fully recovered. His sea of consciousness still ached. After experiencing the incident, he had some lingering fear. Fortunately, he hadn't brought out the 5-colored star splitter arrow when he was in the life and death realm. Otherwise, he might have turned into a jerky, and his starry sky body would have collapsed. Even after advancing to the eternal realm, his powerful sea of consciousness still caused this kind of damage. The 5-colored star splitter arrow wasn't something an ordinary cultivator could bring out. If it weren't for a broken planet blocking the 5-colored star splitter arrow's killing intent, he wouldn't have had the qualifications to refine it. Even so, Ning Cheng still suspected that it was strange for him to refine the 5-colored star splitter arrow so quickly. While continuing to heal, Ning Cheng took out the jade box containing the wood origin bead and opened it. A rich wood origin aura seeped out, making Ning Cheng feel happy. He finally didn't take the risk in vain. Unfortunately, this wood origin bead was just as Shui Wuchang had said, only half. Fortunately, it was a large half. If it were the entire wood origin bead, Ning Cheng wouldn't hesitate to put it into the mysterious yellow bead to make his mysterious yellow bead complete. But as for this half of the wood origin bead, Ning Cheng hesitated for a long time and didn't dare to put it in. He worried that once he put in the broken wood origin bead, not only would it not have much effect, but it would also be completely destroyed. In case that was the case, he would suffer a huge loss. Even if he found the other half of the wood origin bead in the future, he wouldn't be able to make the mysterious yellow bead whole. Ning Cheng absolutely couldn't accept such a result. Ning Cheng carefully put away the wood origin bead and set up several restrictions around it. He wanted to see if he could find the other half of the wood origin bead. Only when he couldn't find it would he take the risk of integrating this half of the wood origin bead into his mysterious yellow bead. The red-haired man had a lot of things, but Ning Cheng couldn't find them. In addition to the wood origin bead, he also found a pile of permanent essence pills and several rings. Ning Cheng opened these rings one by one and found that most of them were empty. From the looks of it, the red-haired male cultivator must have tidied up the things inside. What made Ning Cheng pleasantly surprised was that he found 2 rings full of things. One of the rings contained nearly 40 to 50 star veins, over 100 million permanent essence pills, starry sky spirit grasses, artifact crafting, and array formation materials. Although the other ring didn't have as much as this one, there were still quite a lot of things inside. Coupled with the permanent essence pills that Ning Cheng had previously rescued from the red-haired man's ring, as well as Ning Cheng's own cultivation resources. Just from this harvest, Ning Cheng had nearly 80 star veins, 150 million permanent essence pills, as well as piles of starry sky spirit grasses and artifact crafting materials. As for the medicinal pills, Ning Cheng directly ignored them. He himself was a peak-grade alchemy emperor. Why would he care about these pills? Ning Cheng soon realized who these 2 rings belonged to. One belonged to Ash Pagoda Chamber of Commerce's Association head, Yi Tsang, while the other belonged to Ash Pagoda Chamber of Commerce's Deputy Association head, Tsing Tajiang. The red-haired, flat-nosed man had snatched the rings from the 2 men, but before he could sort them out, he had taken them away. Ning Cheng couldn't help but sigh. He had paid a lot, and had almost lost his life. At the same time, he had also gained a lot. He had never obtained so many things in an accidental harvest. Feeling the 5-colored star splitter arrow on his wrist and the twin wings of the heavenly clouds that had undergone nirvana, Ning Cheng felt that he finally had a foothold in the starry skies. Half a month later, Ning Cheng brought out the starry sky wheel and returned to Silent Bubble Starland. Although his face still looked a little pale, he had recovered 90% of his strength. As for the rest, he could only rely on time to slowly recover. As soon as Ning Cheng returned, he immediately went to returning capital's City Master's mansion. After more than a month, the City Master's mansion, which had been reduced to ruins, had been rebuilt once again. Ning Cheng didn't find Chuan Xinluo, Qiao Jierui, and the others in the City Master's mansion. Fortunately, his spiritual consciousness sensed that Shui Wuchang was still here. Sensing the restriction at the door, Shui Wuchang felt shocked and quickly stood up. Ever since she realized that the red-haired man had come to kill her, she had become a little nervous. But when she saw Ning Qing standing at the door through the restriction, she immediately opened the restriction in surprise and called out, "Senior apprentice brother Ning, it's you." Her surprise wasn't fake, but came from the bottom of her heart. If that red-haired man came again, she would have no choice but to wait for death. Ning Qing entered Shui Wuchang's room and helped Shui Wuchang activate the restriction before saying, "It's me. How come I don't see Chuan Xinlo and the others?" Shui Wuchang breathed a sigh of relief and said, "Leveled Heart Heavenly Emperor and the others waited for you for more than half a month. But after not hearing any news from you, they left returning capital Starry Sky City together. If I'm not wrong, they should have gone to the mysterious Yellow Starland." It was also because the 4 Starry Sky Emperors had left Silent Bubble Starland that Shui Wuchang felt so scared. In this place, she had no protection. If not for the possibility of Ning Qing returning, she would have already left this place secretly. "Senior apprentice brother Ning, did you really go after that red-haired cultivator?" Shui Wuchang could see that Ning Cheng's face still looked a little pale. Since it took him so long to return to Silent Bubble Starland, she even suspected that Ning Cheng had suffered some serious injuries. Ning Cheng also saw Shui Wuchang's worries and nodded, "Yes, I did go after that fellow." But after hesitating for a while, Ning Cheng spoke up, "You don't have to worry about it now. I killed that fellow." The reason why he said those words was that he had obtained the news about the wood origin bead and came to this place thanks to Shui Wuchang. No matter what relationship he had with Shui Wuchang before, it was all in the past. At least for now, he and Shui Wuchang were still friends. Now that Shui Wuchang had helped him, it would be a bit too much for him to hide it from Shui Wuchang. Shui Wuchang was still thinking about how Ning Qing escaped from the red-haired man. But when she suddenly heard Ning Qing say that he killed the red-haired man, she couldn't believe it at all. She opened her mouth and even subconsciously covered her mouth with her hand. She couldn't believe what she had just heard. Ning Qing was naturally strong. If Ning Qing wasn't strong, then Chuan Xinlo and Qiao Jierui wouldn't have feared him. Moreover, they wouldn't have heard that he had crippled the Spirit Devil Island's 3rd island master with a single punch. But no matter how strong Ning Qing was, he should have a bottom line. She had seen the power of the red-haired man with her own eyes. How could Ning Qing defeat the red-haired man? Not only Ning Qing, but even Chuan Xinlo, the most powerful of the 4 Starry Sky Emperors, might not be as strong as that man. Ning Qing interrupted Shui Wuchang's shock, "Fairy Wuchang. Senior apprentice brother Ning, if you think highly of me, just call me Wuchang." Shui Wuchang finally recovered and looked at Ning Qing with a serious expression. "Okay, Wuchang. Leveled Heart Heavenly Emperor and the others went to the mysterious Yellow Starland, but I'm not optimistic about them. I'm planning to go to the mysterious Yellow Starland. You helped me before, and I know your father. I'll help you pay attention." Ning Qing, seeing that Chuan Xinlo and the others had already left, decided to go alone. The reason why he wasn't optimistic about Chuan Xinlo and the others was that the red-haired man was too powerful. If the mysterious Yellow Starland had a few more such powerful fellows, it would be a miracle if 2 of Chuan Xinlo's group of 4 managed to escape. However, he had to go there. Otherwise, he would feel sorry for the giant who saved his life. "Senior apprentice brother Ning, I'll go with you. I have some means to escape. If it's a last resort, I won't drag you down," Shui Wuchang said firmly. Ning Qing initially wanted Shui Wuchang to stay behind, but now that Shui Wuchang insisted on going with him, he didn't refuse. After all, he had to go back and invite Shin Mengyan, and Shin Mengyan's cultivation wasn't higher than Shui Wuchang's. "Wuchang, it's all thanks to you that I could get back that half of the wood origin bead. This ring is my reward for you. In addition, I hope you won't tell anyone about the wood origin bead." Ning Qing took out a ring and handed it to Shui Wuchang. Shui Wuchang naturally understood Ning Cheng's meaning and quickly took the ring. Senior Apprentice Brother Ning, rest assured. If it weren't for Senior Apprentice Brother Ning, I'm afraid that person would have killed me. No matter what happens, I won't tell anyone about it. Shui Wuchang took the ring to put Ning Cheng at ease. However, when her spiritual sense fell into the ring, she almost screamed out loud. The ring contained 10 million permanent essence pills and a bunch of cultivation medicinal pills. I can't accept so many things. Seeing so many things, Shui Wuchang couldn't help but feel envious. But she knew that she couldn't accept them. She had only provided a piece of information. If she really took so many things, Ning Cheng would probably look at her in a different light. She was about to return the ring to Ning Cheng when she saw Ning Cheng smile and say, "Since I can give you so many things, it means that I have the ability to give it to you. Not to mention these things, even if you gave me several times more, as long as I can find the wood origin bead, I would willingly give it to you." Ning Cheng didn't speak nonsense. If it weren't for Shui Wuchang's reminder, he might have missed the wood origin bead. Half a month later, Ning Cheng returned to stately River Star and told Ji Luofei, Ning Rulan, Zhang Caihe, and the others about his trip to the mysterious Yellow Starland. After that, he left stately River Star with Shen Mengyan and Shui Wuchang. Ning Rulan and Ji Luofei both knew that their strength was too low. Plus, with Ning Cheng bringing back so many cultivation resources, the only thing they needed to do was to go into secluded cultivation. The starry sky will move quickly. In less than half a month, the mysterious Yellow Starland could be seen with one's spiritual consciousness. How did it turn out like this? Shui Wuchang stood on the deck of the starry sky wheel and looked at the huge starland in front of her. Not to mention Shui Wuchang, even Ning Cheng couldn't believe it. He had been to the mysterious Yellow Starland once before. At that time, before entering the mysterious Yellow Starland, he had already felt the layers of greenery. It had only been a few years, but when he came to the mysterious Yellow Starland again, he didn't see layers of greenery, but a deathly gray aura. It reminded Ning Cheng of the sacred light mountain range in the mysterious Yellow Starland. The first time he saw the sacred light mountain range, it also had a deathly gray aura. However, the sacred light mountain range was barren, and it didn't have this deathly gray aura. The starry sky will stopped outside the mysterious Yellow Starland, and Ning Cheng stared at it for a long time before suddenly saying, "I understand." "What's wrong?" Shen Mengyan and Shui Wuchang asked at the same time. Shen Mengyan had never been to the mysterious Yellow Starland before, so she didn't feel too surprised. Ning Cheng took in a deep breath and slowly said, "Someone wants to refine the mysterious Yellow Starland, and it's not an ordinary refinement." Chapter 804. Ah! Shen Mengyan and Shui Wuchang screamed at the same time. Refining a starland? The mysterious Yellow Starland wasn't an ordinary starland, but a supersized starland comparable to Culmination Starland and Silent Bubble Starland. The reason why it didn't form a huge starry sky was because of its location. Who could refine such a starland? Is there really someone here refining the mysterious Yellow Starland? Shui Wuchang still couldn't believe it. Ning Cheng nodded, "I don't think I'm wrong. I haven't come into contact with refining a starland, but these people are indeed refining the mysterious Yellow Starland." Not to mention that he had never come into contact with refining a starland, Ning Cheng had never even heard of refining an ordinary planet. He had only heard of refining an ordinary planet as a true spirit world. Shen Mengyan took in a deep breath and asked, "Why are these people doing this? There are so many abandoned planets in the vast universe. Since they want to refine it, why not choose an abandoned starland or planet?" Ning Cheng truly didn't know what was going on. However, Shui Wuchang spoke up, "I know a little about it. I heard that only a starland with a complete foundation and a clear heaven and earth law network would have any value in refining it. Those uninhabited broken planets don't even have a complete foundation, and their laws are completely destroyed. It would be useless to refine it." Ha! Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness forcibly passed through the star-protecting grand array and exclaimed, "Heavenly Emperor leveled heart and the others should be trapped in a huge array formation. From the looks of it, it looks like they are struggling." Ning Qing didn't see Chuan Xinluo and the others, but he felt bursts of starry sky essence chi fluctuations, which should be spatial fluctuations from a battle. Since it could trap Chuan Xinluo's group of 4, it definitely wasn't just an array formation. Let's go down and have a look. Ning Qing said to Shen Mengyan and Shui Wuchang, put away the starry sky wheel, and walked towards the mysterious yellow starland through the void. Ning Cheng's group of 3 stepped into the periphery of the mysterious yellow starland, but no one came to stop them. Shen Mengyan and Shui Wuchang both felt that something was wrong. Shen Mengyan spoke up with some worry, Ning Cheng, leveled heart heavenly emperor is trapped. Why didn't anyone stop us from entering the mysterious yellow starland? Because he also wants to trap the 3 of us. Ning Cheng smiled and threw out some array flags. When the 3 of them landed on the public square on the periphery of the mysterious yellow starland, bursts of roars echoed throughout the starry sky. In just a few breaths, the Ning Qing trio could no longer feel the starry skies outside the starland. What appeared before the 3 of them was a boundless black world. It might not be right to call it a black world. It would be more accurate to call it a starry sky filled with endless insects. These insects were pitch black and constantly spat out black mist. Some of the bigger ones could even spit out some wind blades and flames. Bursts of pungent smell filled the air. Even Shui Wuchang and Shen Mengyan, both in the heaven-seated realm, couldn't help but feel nauseous. It was conceivable that it would be a disaster if the black water spat out by the black insects splashed onto his body. It would be strange if there was any benefit to being splashed by this incomparably smelly black water. The endless number of black insects was only a portion of the attack. Streams of spatial pressure that could suppress one's cultivation base spread out, causing one to feel even more stifled and flustered. Without Ning Cheng's reminder, Shen Mengyan and Shui Wuchang had already seen Chuan Xinluo and the others. At this moment, the 4 heavenly emperors looked a little embarrassed. They could only bring out weapons to protect themselves while constantly bombarding the black insects around them. Especially Chuan Xinluo. Every time his burning sky-eroding sun pagoda spat out flames, an endless swarm of insects would turn to ash. But no matter how powerful his attacks were, he couldn't kill all of these insects. The more he killed, the fewer insects there were. Instead, the more he attacked, the more insects appeared. With Chuan Xinluo's cultivation, even if he trapped a planet in an ordinary place, he could shatter it with a single attack. But in this place, no matter how much lethality he unleashed, the array formation still blocked his attacks and couldn't cause any more damage. As long as the 4 of them couldn't break this entrapment array formation, the 4 of them would eventually die of exhaustion. Of course, Ning Qing believed that these 4 people should have some means to escape, they just hadn't used it yet. The reason why Chuan Xinluo's group of 4 couldn't break this array formation was not because they were too weak, but because someone was directing this array formation. The cultivator controlling this array formation not only commanded the insects but also suppressed the cultivation of Chuan Xinluo's group of 4 through this spatial array formation. Another reason was that none of Chuan Xinluo's group of 4 was a true expert in the Tao of array formations. Not long after Ning Cheng's group of 3 entered the entrapment array formation, endless black insects swarmed towards them. Although Shui Wuchang and Shen Mengyan could block the attacks of these insects, they still turned pale. These insects were disgusting, not only because of the disgusting black liquid they spat out, but also because of the disgusting appearance of these insects. Not only did they have 1 eye, but they also had serrated feet. These insects also had potholes all over their bodies, and these potholes continuously flowed with black filth. The biggest of these insects was about half a foot, while the smallest ones weren't even the size of a rice grain. I'll do it. Ning Qing saw Shui Wuchang and Shen Mengyan about to bring out their weapons and spoke up with a smile. You? Shen Mengyan and Shui Wuchang both looked at Ning Qing in doubt. With so many insects, everyone naturally had to work together. How could one person kill all of them? Ning Qing didn't answer. Instead, he raised his hand and shot out several time wheels. If he used the time wheels to fight against Chuan Xinluo's burning sky-eroding sun pagoda, the time wheels might not have an advantage. However, If he used the time wheels to fight against Chuan Xinluo's burning sky eroding sun pagoda, then even 10 Chuan Xinluos couldn't compare. Every time Chuan Xinluo's burning sky eroding sun pagoda blasted out a pale white flame, countless insects would die. At the same time, the area around him would become empty. It's just that this kind of empty space would quickly be filled up by excess insects. However, Ning Cheng's time wheels were different. The time wheels were a laws of time-related spirit technique. Once it swept out, everything within the range of Ning Cheng's power would turn into a flat plane, while the consumption would not be too great. As long as one went to the time wilderness and saw the endless flat land swept out by the time wheels, they would naturally understand the power of the time wheels. Shui Wuchang and Shen Mengyan stared blankly at the gray light wheels that Ning Cheng blasted out. Everything in front of the light wheels had turned into nothingness, without even a trace left behind. Wherever the light wheels went, it would become a flat land without any black obstructing their line of sight. Ning Cheng waved his hands and shot out one light wheel after another. In the next moment, the endless insects in front of him disappeared, leaving behind only the light wheels that kept moving forward. In just a few breaths, the endless black space cleared up. Not to mention insects, there wasn't even a single protruding stone. Chuan Xinluo and the others had already seen Ning Cheng's trio come in, but they couldn't pay any attention to Ning Cheng. When Ning Cheng's time wheels kept blasting out, turning the endless insects into nothingness, they looked at Ning Cheng in shock. But soon, the four reacted. Rushing out of the encirclement of black insects, they entered the place where Ning Cheng had swept through. The four of them had just left the encirclement of insects when a time wheel swept past the place where they had stayed. The four of them could only watch as a black line disappeared without a trace in front of the time wheel. Then, this empty space stretched out. It seemed that as long as there were insects, this light wheel would continue to move forward. What a powerful law of time-related spirit technique. In front of time, everything is illusory. Chuan Xinluo looked at Ning Cheng's time wheel and murmured. He knew that Ning Cheng had touched the edge of the laws of time. But to be honest, he didn't care much about it. After all, he wasn't afraid of Ning Cheng's sunset's twilight. Even when Ning Cheng used the time wheel in returning capital city, he didn't care much about it. Although the time wheel was strong, his burning sky eroding sun pagoda could block it. Only now did he realize how powerful the law of time was. The only reason why he was able to block it was probably because his realm was much higher than Ning Cheng's. One day, once Ning Cheng's realm rose, and his comprehension of the laws of time reached a new level, what would he use to block the laws of time? Perhaps apart from the law of time, there was no other way to block the law of time. Sect Master Ning, you're so strong. Zhangkang Tianji put away his weapon and was the first to come to Ning Cheng's side before giving him a thumbs up and praising him. Xiao Jierui remained silent. Although he had not spoken much about Ning Cheng's trip to returning capital, he had already regarded Ning Cheng as a dead man in his heart. As long as he reached Dao confirming, the first person he would kill would be Ning Cheng. He didn't have Chuan Xinluo's patience. But now, his heart turned cold. How long has it been? Ning Cheng had already grown so strong that he had to look up to him. Ning Cheng chased after the red-haired man and came here unscathed. From this, Ning Cheng most likely killed the red-haired man. Although he didn't see Ning Cheng kill the red-haired man, he saw the power of Ning Cheng's time wheel with his own eyes. He had personally dealt with these insects before. He also had a large-scale killing spirit technique, but compared to Ning Cheng's law of time light wheel, this spirit technique couldn't compare. After the Chuan Xinluo trio approached Ning Cheng no longer had any scruples. The time wheel turned into a shadow of time and shot out. In just a few breaths, the sky-covering darkness disappeared. Ning Cheng knew that he didn't kill all these black insects. Maybe if these black insects continued to pour out, he could really kill them all. The black insects that disappeared in front of him, apart from the ones he killed, had most likely been taken back by someone else. Most likely, the owner of these insects knew that using these black insects to deal with him was just wishful thinking. A man in a gray robe slowly appeared in front of everyone. This gray-robed man didn't have eyes. Instead, he had a complete piece of skin where his eyes should have been. It made people feel a little uncomfortable looking at him. After he appeared, the suppression of the surrounding space seemed to loosen a bit. Ning Cheng was proficient in array formations, so he naturally knew that the space-locking grand array in front of him had something to do with this person. "You're strong." The gray-robed man faced Ning Cheng and spoke slowly. Since he didn't have eyes, no one could see the expression in his eyes. Ning Cheng didn't answer the gray-robed man's words. He noticed that the gray-robed man had a bamboo cage behind him, and the bamboo cage exuded bursts of black insect aura. "If you think that you can break through my space-locking grand array with your own means, then you're wrong." The gray-robed man's tone remained calm. "Even if I don't use my black treasure, you can't get out of here. If you don't believe me, you can try." Chapter 805. Is that so? Ning Cheng smiled and raised his hand to throw out a handful of array flags. At the same time, he also threw out a bunch of permanent essence pills. Boom boom boom. A series of explosions rang out like a dragon. In just a dozen breaths, everyone's field of vision cleared up. The oppressive space disappeared completely, and the residual stench also dissipated. Everyone knew that Ning Cheng had easily broken through the grand array that the eyeless cultivator had spoken about a moment ago. The eyeless cultivator's expression changed. He didn't expect that this young cultivator, who had just come in, could break through his space-locking grand array and break it so easily. From this, it also showed that this young cultivator entered the grand array voluntarily. Otherwise, he wouldn't have even approached this grand array. Ning Cheng spoke with a calm voice. "You think a mere starry sky grade 9 space-locking array can stop me? You think too highly of yourself." In fact, this eyeless male cultivator truly didn't think too highly of himself. He just didn't expect Ning Cheng to be a starry sky grade 9 array emperor. Besides, how could a starry sky grade 9 grand array be called mere? If he knew that Ning Cheng was a starry sky grade 9 array emperor, he naturally wouldn't have said that. A starry sky grade 9 space-locking array, under his full control, could even trap a starry sky grade 9 array emperor. However, this array emperor in front of him had already started to arrange the array-breaking flags before entering the grand array. Because he wanted to use the array formation to suppress Chuan Xinluo's group of 4, he didn't have the energy to pay attention to Ning Cheng. Or rather, he didn't expect Ning Cheng to have such high attainments in the Tao of arrays, which led to such a mistake. Did he break the array just like that? Chuan Xinluo couldn't believe it as he looked at the empty space in front of him that had lost its suppression. Although he didn't care about the eyeless man's words, he didn't think that he could really be trapped. However, Ning Cheng breaking the array so easily still shocked him. At this moment, he suddenly realized that when he prepared to deal with Ning Cheng, he didn't take Ning Cheng's attainments in the Tao of arrays into account. Against a powerhouse like Ning Cheng, even a little mistake could cost him his life. What's more, did he neglect such an important thing? Chuan Xinluo kept thinking about his own thoughts and forgot about coming to the mysterious yellow starland. The gray-robed eyeless cultivator stared at Ning Cheng. He couldn't figure out how Ning Cheng's Tao of arrays could be so powerful. Ha! I didn't expect that there would be a powerhouse who controls the laws of time in this part of the starry sky. It's my Mandarin's negligence. Mingyuan, please invite them to my 9th Emperor Peak. A loud laughter sounded in everyone's ears, but no one could see where the person was. After hearing this voice, the eyeless gray-robed cultivator immediately became polite. Guests, please follow me. His tone was gentle, as if he wasn't the one who had trapped everyone and started fighting. Everyone immediately looked at Ning Cheng, even Chuan Xinluo looked at Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng's strength was not worse than his, but the key point was that Ning Cheng was proficient in array formations. The person who spoke wasn't even here, yet he knew everything that was happening here. It could be seen just how powerful this person's cultivation was. However, Ning Cheng had come to the mysterious yellow starland for some reason, so he naturally wouldn't be scared off by a single voice. He looked at the eyeless gray-robed cultivator and said, "Lead the way." The eyeless cultivator cupped his hands towards Ning Cheng. "My name is Yi Mingyuan. Ning Qing nodded but did not speak. He naturally knew that this eyeless cultivator had a high ambition and took the initiative to speak his name to get him to sign up. However, Ning Qing didn't intend to sign up at all, let alone get to know the other party. If he had the chance, he wouldn't mind killing this eyeless cultivator. After he broke the array formation, his spiritual consciousness swept through a part of the mysterious yellow starland. The once bustling Moi city now had no signs of human habitation. It was a broken ghost city with death aura lingering around it. As for the mysterious yellow starland, it was even more barren. From this, it could be seen that the only thing this group of people did here was to extinguish the life force of this starland. This was a group of murderers who killed without batting an eye. He didn't want to get to know them. Seeing Ning Qing ignore him, Yi Mingyuan didn't continue to ask and took the initiative to enter the mysterious yellow starland. After setting foot on the ground of the mysterious yellow starland, Shui Wuchang's expression immediately changed. At this moment, the mysterious yellow starland couldn't even be described as a living starland. Everything in sight was gray and filled with death aura. Moi City, on the other hand, looked like a ghost city. Seeing this, how could Shui Wuchang not know that her father had died? Not to mention her father, most likely, all the cultivators in the mysterious yellow starland had perished. Ning Qing stopped outside Moi City and seemed to think about something. The 9th prince is waiting for you in the sacred light city. Please come with me. Yi Mingyuan smiled and stretched out his hand to lead them in the direction of the sacred light mountain range. Even without Yi Mingyuan's words, Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness had already swept into the sacred light mountain range. The sacred light mountain range, which used to be covered in yellow sand, had now turned into a magnificent city. This city looked a bit weird, with a mountain peak rising up in the middle. This magnificent city also had a weak vitality, and the 3 words Sacred Light City were engraved on the surface of this giant city. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness penetrated it without hesitation but found that this Sacred Light City didn't have any spiritual consciousness restrictions. His spiritual consciousness easily swept in and saw the towering mountain building in the middle of the city. In front of this towering mountain building, there were a few strange words suspended in the air: 9th Emperor's Peak. Please come with me into the city. Seeing Ning Qing stop outside Moi City and not move even after he asked him to come with him, Mingyuan could only say it again. Since Ning Qing could sweep into the Sacred Light City, Chuan Xinlo and the others naturally could also sweep into it with their spiritual consciousness. They also had some doubts as to why the Sacred Light City didn't have any spiritual consciousness restrictions. Ning Qing spoke to Yi Mingyuan in a calm voice, "Go back and tell your 9th prince that I'll be waiting for him in Moi City." After saying that, Ning Qing didn't wait for Yi Mingyuan to answer and turned around to enter Moi City. Seeing Ning Qing enter Moi City, Shui Wuchang and Shen Mengyan naturally followed Ning Qing into Moi City. Chuan Xinlo's group of 4 didn't understand Ning Cheng's intentions, but since everyone was on the same side now, they naturally wouldn't act against each other. Seeing Ning Cheng and the others enter Moi City, Yi Mingyuan didn't get angry. Instead, he cupped his fists and spoke up politely, "In that case, I will go back and report to the 9th prince." Seeing Yi Mingyuan walk away, Yi Jiufeng frowned and said, "What is the origin of this 9th prince?" Shui Wuchang gritted her teeth and said, "No matter where he came from, he's a demon. From the deathly aura around the mysterious yellow starland, I can tell that he killed everyone here." Ning Qing spoke up in a deep voice, "It's not certain that he killed everyone. The mysterious yellow starland is huge. As long as he doesn't refine it, he can't kill everyone here." Ning Qing immediately thought of the altar of forefathers library in the Thousand Mound Forest. He felt sure that no matter how powerful the 9th prince was, he couldn't refine the altar of forefathers library. The 9th Emperor's Peak in the middle of Sacred Light City looks strange. It looks a bit like an altar. Chuan Xinlo spoke with a solemn voice. "It doesn't look like an altar. It's an altar, and that altar is used to refine the mysterious yellow starland. I don't think that the 9th prince would be able to refine the mysterious yellow starland without a few hundred years." Ning Qing replied. He studied array formations and had long since noticed that the ninth emperor's peak had a top-grade sacrificial array. The reason why he didn't go to Sacred Light City was that he felt that Sacred Light City wasn't as simple as it looked. Don't look at the city's surface, and it didn't seem to have any array formation restrictions. But when Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness fell into the Sacred Light City, he immediately felt a threat. He felt sure that the Sacred Light City had a trap and kill array, it's just that he couldn't see it. Ning Cheng naturally wouldn't take risks for something he didn't have the slightest confidence in. The star-protecting Grand Array outside the mysterious yellow starland looked simple, and Moi City didn't have any array formations around it. If he stayed in Moi City, he wouldn't feel threatened by any trap and kill array. Only a fool would go to Sacred Light City. After the few people walked into Moi City, a decaying and dilapidated aura hit them in the face. Ning Cheng and Shui Wuchang couldn't believe that this place was a lively and prosperous place just a few years ago. Everyone fell silent, and after a while, Chuan Xinlo spoke up, "Sect Master Ning, where should we meet the ninth prince?" "Let's go to Shui clan's place." After that, Ning Cheng looked at Shui Wuchang and said, "Wuchang, take Leveled Heart Heavenly Emperor and the others to your Shui clan's guest hall. I'll be there in a minute." Shui Wuchang naturally didn't ask what Ning Cheng wanted to do. Instead, she bowed to Chuan Xinlo and the others and said, "Several heavenly emperors, please come with me." Chuan Xinlo and the others had already guessed what Ning Cheng wanted to do, but they didn't ask about it. At least, Ning Cheng was now on their side. After Chuan Xinlo and the others left, Ning Cheng took out array flags and started to sprinkle them around Moi City. After he sprinkled these array flags, they quickly disappeared into the void or fell into the ruins. They didn't emit even the slightest celestial essence fluctuation. Half an hour later, when Ning Cheng arrived at Shui clan's guest hall, everyone had already sat down. Shui Wuchang had also tidied up the Shui clan's guest hall, and with a few people sitting down, it felt a bit more lively. When Ning Cheng came in, he saw that the seat of honor on the left was empty. Sitting next to the seat of honor was Shin Mengyan. Chuan Xinlo, Yi Jiufeng, Qiao Jirui, Zhangkang Tianji and Shui Wuchang followed suit. When Ning Cheng saw the seating arrangement, he immediately understood. The main person facing the ninth prince today wasn't Chuan Xinlo, but Ning Cheng. Chuan Xinlo understood it very well. Otherwise, with Chuan Xinlo's status, it would have been impossible for him to sit below Ning Cheng. As for Shin Mengyan sitting next to Ning Cheng also understood it very well. Presumably, Chuan Xinlo knew about his relationship with Shin Mengyan. Or in the eyes of Chuan Xinlo and the others, Shin Mengyan was equivalent to Ning Cheng's mother-in-law. Letting Shin Mengyan sit next to Ning Cheng, in addition to showing respect to Ning Cheng, it also meant that Sect Master Ning would be in charge of today's matters. Even if the position was given to Ning Cheng would still have to take care of it. Ning Cheng showed a faint smile. He didn't care about where he sat at all. For him, no matter where he sat, he would do what he should do. Even if he shouldn't do something, it wouldn't change just because he sat in the first seat. Not long after Ning Cheng sat down, the space in the hall distorted, and several figures suddenly appeared in the middle of the guest hall. Chapter 806. 6 people appeared in the guest hall, led by a young-looking man. If it weren't for the faint ripples on his face, this man would have been considered a handsome young man. However, Ning Cheng would never regard him as a handsome young man. The Dao charm fluctuations coming from this man didn't lose out to the red-haired cultivator he killed. In fact, it felt even stronger. On each side of this young man was a charming young girl. One of the girls had silver hair but looked dignified. The other girl had a strange white skin and exuded a coquettish aura. Behind these 3 people were 3 other men. One of them was Yi Mingyuan, the one who had arranged the array formation and released the stinky black insects to trap Chuan Xinlo and the others. Standing beside Yi Mingyuan was a thin cultivator who was not much better than a bamboo pole. Perhaps because this person was too thin, his face was like a skeleton, without any expression, looking extremely wooden. The last male cultivator wore a mask, making it impossible to see his appearance. Even his aura was concealed. The man with the ripples on his face walked directly to the highest seat on the right, while the two women separated and stood behind this man. After the man with the ripples on his face sat down, Mingyuan and the other two sat down in turn. Only after the few people sat down did the man with the ripples on his face turn to Ning Cheng. You sure put on a lot of airs to make me come here in person. But since a talent like you came to my place, I, Manjuran, am not a stingy person. I have always been kind to people with ability. Ning Cheng didn't care about this Manjuran. Even if Yi Mingyuan's spiritual consciousness fell on him as soon as he came in, he didn't care about it. What puzzled him was the man with the mask on his face. This man had been staring at him since he came in. It was as if he was staring at a life and death enemy. He couldn't even control his murderous aura. Even if this fellow wore a mask, Ning Cheng felt sure that he had never seen this fellow before. He also didn't know why this fellow had such a big grudge against him. After hearing Manjuran's words, Ning Cheng didn't pay any more attention to the man with the mask on his face. Instead, he calmly spoke to Manjuran, "You should be the 9th prince that Yi Mingyuan mentioned, right? I think we have to figure something out before we start. This place doesn't belong to you, 9th prince, but mysterious Yellow Starland's Moi City's Shui clan. Moreover, the Shui clan's people are sitting here right now. Remember, don't casually say that other people's things belong to you. Otherwise, I will despise you." After hearing Ning Cheng's words, Manjuran froze for a moment before laughing. "That's in the past. Now, the mysterious Yellow Starland belongs to me, Manjuran." His words carried an unquestionable tone, and a powerful Dao charm spread out from his body. Apparently, he wanted Juran to kill him. Originally, Chuan Xinlo wanted to kill all the outsiders from the mysterious Yellow Starland, but now he naturally changed his mind. Chuan Xinlo wanted to kill all the outsiders in S place. At this, he, including Jiu, he, Man Jiu, Man, and Jiu, if, they, he, T, heat, he's brother, he's. T, S right, heat, eyes, teat, he's, the others, eyes, I, T-Tess. The few of us came here today to reach an agreement with the 9th prince. Before Chuan Xinlo could finish, Manjuran interrupted him with a cold snort. "You're not qualified to reach an agreement with me." Chuan Xinlo's face turned livid with anger, but he still didn't dare to do anything. Manjuran didn't care about it. Instead, he turned to Ning Cheng and said, "I came here today for you. If not for you, I wouldn't have bothered with these people. You don't have high cultivation, but you can touch the laws of time and even have a way to kill Hong Luan. I'm very interested in you. Tell me, what's your name?" Ning Cheng's heart sank. He guessed who Hong Luan was. It was the red-haired man with a flat nose, whom he killed. Seeing Ning Cheng frowning and not speaking, Manjuran spoke up in a cold voice, "I like you, and I just want you to join me, Manjuran. I won't treat you badly. I can write off the matter of you killing Hong Luan. Otherwise, I, Manjuran, will avenge Hong Luan. As for that charming Dao companion of yours, you should have thought of the consequences." The masked male cultivator heard Manjuran say that Shen Mengyan was Ning Cheng's Dao companion, and clenched his fists even tighter. Ning Cheng spoke up with disdain, "Manjuran, I think you've become a prince. You're just an idiot." When Manjuran heard Ning Cheng's words, the lines on his face turned horrifying. Today, he took the initiative to come to Ning Cheng's place to invite Ning Cheng to join him. It was the lowest position he had ever taken. If not for Ning Cheng's attainments in the Tao of Arrays and the laws of time spirit technique, how could he have come to this place? Now, he was courteous to the wise, yet he was called an idiot by an ant. If he didn't kill this ant today, where would he, Manjuran, put his face? Manjuran liked talented people, but he wouldn't allow his subordinates to offend their superiors. Although Ning Cheng hadn't joined him yet, in his eyes, Ning Cheng had already offended his superiors. Kill them all. Leave the woman next to this ant. We'll kill her together later. After Manjuran finished speaking, he raised his hand and brought out a golden whip. Sure enough, a bunch of beasts. Shen Mengyan trembled in anger. The moment Manjuran shouted, Ning Cheng brought out his celestial rainbow purgatory spear. Chuan Xinlo and Yi Jiufeng also brought out their weapons. For Ning Cheng's side, Chuan Xinlo had the highest cultivation. Therefore, Ning Cheng thought that Chuan Xinlo would hold off the ninth prince. Unexpectedly, after Chuan Xinlo brought out the burning sky-eroding sun pagoda, he rushed straight towards Yi Mingyuan and spoke with a stern voice, "What's the use of array formations? Die for me." While speaking, white flames erupted from the burning sky-eroding sun pagoda, which almost melted the surrounding space. People who didn't know would have thought that Chuan Xinlo really hated Yi Mingyuan and chose to attack Yi Mingyuan. Only Ning Cheng understood that Chuan Xinlo didn't dare to fight Manjuran and let him deal with Manjuran. Qiao Jierui and Zhangkang Tianji also brought out their weapons at the same time, and the two teamed up to deal with the bamboo-like cultivator. They could see that the strongest person here was the ninth prince, followed by Yi Mingyuan, and then the bamboo-like cultivator. As for the masked cultivator, although mysterious, he didn't seem to have a strong cultivation. At most, he was at the late-stage eternal realm. Yi Jiufeng was the last to take action. She was surrounded by the masked cultivator and the two women beside Chuan Xinlo. As for Shui Wuchang and Shen Mengyan, they were both in the heaven-seated realm. In this kind of battle, they couldn't intervene at all and could only retreat. The golden whip in Manjuran's hand shook, and layers of space surged. "Let me see how powerful your laws of time-related spirit technique is." As soon as the battle started, Chuan Xinlo and the others rushed out. Shui clan's already dilapidated lair turned into a pile of rubble. At this moment, Moi City's space surged, celestial essence kept exploding, and all kinds of lore-related spirit techniques collided with each other. Moi City was already a ghost city. But under this kind of violent battle, even the broken buildings disappeared, turning into a crisscrossing ravine. Although Chuan Xinlo had been trapped by Yi Mingyuan before, he wasn't much weaker than Yi Mingyuan in terms of strength. The two fought from inside the city to outside the city, and the more they fought, the fiercer it became. Qiao Jierui and Zhangkang Tianji, on the other hand, fought to a draw with the bamboo-like cultivator. On the contrary, Yi Jiufeng had the upper hand. Yi Jiufeng's strength was second only to Chuan Xinlo. Although she had 3 opponents, they were relatively weak. Ning Cheng stared at the space surging created by Manjuran. Looking at Manjuran's movements, he couldn't help but secretly complain in his heart. He knew that he wasn't Manjuran's opponent. Not only was he not this fellow's opponent, but the gap between them wasn't just 1 or 2 points. Although the other party didn't make a move, the layers of space surging created by the golden whip felt as if the entire universe was contained within the whip. As long as Ning Cheng moved, the layers of space surging would crush him into powder. It's just that Chuan Xinlo didn't have the guts to give him the strongest opponent. "This prince will let you make the first move. Otherwise, after I make my move, I'm afraid you won't be able to display any laws of time-related spirit techniques for the rest of your life." Manjuran stared at Ning Cheng with a sarcastic tone. Ning Cheng took in a deep breath. He knew that Manjuran wasn't talking nonsense. Once Manjuran made his move, this space would no longer belong to him. Even with his sunset's twilight, he might not be able to break free. In other words, if Manjuran made the first move, he might not even have the chance to make a move. Ning Cheng's thoughts immediately connected to the 5-colored star splitter arrow. Apart from this arrow, he didn't know what other means he could use to suppress Manjuran. The difference in strength between him and Manjuran was just too great. A strong desire rose in his heart, a thirst for strength. The 5-colored star splitter arrow had severely injured him when he tried to kill Hong Luan. How long had it been? He wanted to use the 5-colored star splitter arrow again. After his injuries healed, he had warned himself not to use the 5-colored star splitter arrow casually. But he had no choice but to use it. The last time, it was to complete the mysterious yellow bead. But this time, it was to save his life. "You two leave immediately. Leave the mysterious yellow starland. Leave this place to me." Ning Qing sent a voice transmission to Shui Wuchang and Shin Mengyan. Apart from him and Man Jiuren, only Shui Wuchang and Shin Mengyan remained. The rest had long since left Moi City. Shui Wuchang understood that things had already reached this point. If she stayed here, she would only be a burden. Ning Qing had just finished speaking, when she brought out a talisman. After the talisman flashed, her entire person disappeared from this place without a trace. Shin Mengyan sighed. She didn't have a talisman. At the same time, she didn't want to leave. She had a vague feeling that Yu Yuechen had truly come to this place. Seeing Shui Wuchang use the talisman to leave, Man Jiuren snorted, "Since you don't want to fight, then die." The golden whip rolled up, and for a moment, the entire sky above Moi City turned into a tumbling space. A thought that he didn't belong in this place rose up in Ning Cheng's heart for no reason. Ning Cheng's sea of consciousness stirred, and the next moment, he brought out the 5-colored star splitter arrow. Chapter 807. Ning Cheng had used the 5-colored star splitter arrow before and knew how terrifying this arrow was. As long as he started using it, he couldn't take it back. Therefore, he had to shoot it. Moreover, if the 5-colored star splitter arrow didn't absorb enough celestial essence and didn't have enough spiritual consciousness, it wouldn't be able to shoot it. It could only continue to absorb the celestial essence of the person who shot it. If one didn't have enough strength, even before the 5-colored star splitter arrow's backlash, the violent absorption would turn the person who shot it into jerky. Man Jiuren looked at Ning Cheng with a sneer, but he didn't make the first move. It wasn't that he wanted to keep his promise, but that he still hoped that Ning Cheng could become his subordinate. Once Ning Cheng made his move, he would find that the laws of time-related spirit techniques were nothing in his eyes. At that time, he might have no choice but to rely on him. He was a person who did great things, and he lacked subordinates who could touch the laws of time. Ning Cheng took out a few array flags and a jade strip and put them in Shin Mengyan's hand before sending her a voice transmission. "Once I fall, you rush out immediately. Once you reach the main street of Moi City, throw out these array flags and head to the place recorded in the jade strip." He feared that he would lose too much this time and wouldn't even be able to take out the array flags. Fortunately, Shin Mengyan was here. If Shin Mengyan weren't here, he would have called out Chasing Bull. Ning Cheng had just finished doing this when the 5-colored star splitter arrow he shot out turned into a 5-colored crescent rainbow suspended in the air. A black arrow exuding a terrifying killing intent landed on the 5-colored crescent moon. Man Jiuren's expression changed. The violent and terrifying killing intent swept over the sky. At this moment, the entire space no longer fell under Man Jiuren's control. Instead, the black arrow swept over everything. After the black arrow swept through the violent killing intent, it started to fade, and the colorful array also started to fade. Man Jiuren's eyes filled with horror. For the first time, he felt fear. He couldn't do anything. Under the powerful arrow intent, he could only watch helplessly. "Stop. After you shoot this arrow, I'll definitely be fine. But everything related to you will turn to dust." Man Jiuren shouted frantically. He hoped that Ning Cheng would believe his words. Although Ning Cheng couldn't kill him after shooting this arrow, he didn't want to lose even a few mysterious yellow starlands in exchange for his losses. Ning Cheng couldn't stop. The first time he brought out the 5-colored star splitter arrow, the slow absorption of celestial essence and the slow release of the arrow. This time, Ning Cheng's celestial essence and spiritual consciousness crazily poured into it. He feared that the 5-colored star splitter arrow's killing intent couldn't completely lock onto Man Jiuren. Therefore, he wanted to shoot the 5-colored star splitter arrow in the shortest time possible. His blood essence burned frantically once more, and his lifespan piled up and burned as well. There was only one goal in his mind, and that was to quickly shoot the arrow. He couldn't let Man Jiuren break free from the star splitter arrow's killing intent, nor could he let Yi Mingyuan and the others come in to help. The gray color of the 5-colored star splitter arrow filled this space. Man Jiuren didn't continue to ask Ning Cheng to stop. He could see that even Ning Cheng couldn't stop. His eyes flashed with a trace of hatred. If he did not kill Ning Cheng, he would not rest. If he knew that Ning Cheng didn't use a laws of time-related spirit technique, if he knew that Ning Cheng had brought out a 5-colored star splitter arrow, he regretted letting Ning Cheng shoot the arrow. He regretted wanting to see what Ning Cheng's laws of time-related spirit technique looked like. There were many what-ifs in the universe, but he didn't have such a powerful spirit technique to display. At this moment, an image of a powerful spirit technique appeared in his mind. Unfortunately, it was only something he could look up to. It was also a laws of time-related spirit technique, not the low-level laws of time-related spirit technique that this ant in front of him used to cast the time wheel. Instead, it was a powerful laws of time-related spirit technique. Although Shen Mengyan stood behind Ning Cheng and couldn't feel the endless killing intent eroding her, the terrifying killing intent still made her face pale and her body tremble. She didn't know what to do. She had never seen such a terrifying killing intent before. She felt sure that if she stood in front of Ning Cheng and faced this arrow, she wouldn't even need to shoot it. In that case, there was no need for the arrow to be fired. She would have collapsed by herself first. Seeing Manjuran's eyes filled with horror, Shen Mengyan's heart calmed down a bit. She let out a sigh of relief and turned her gaze to Ning Cheng. But then, her expression changed drastically once again. Ning Cheng's body trembled, his face turned gray, and even his hair slowly turned gray. Blood continued to flow from the corners of his mouth, and the bones in his body creaked. It felt as if he would collapse to the ground at any time. Shen Mengyan was also a heaven-seated powerhouse, so she naturally understood what was going on. Ning Cheng not only burned his celestial essence and spiritual consciousness from his sea of consciousness, but he also burned his longevity. What kind of arrow was this? Why was it so terrifying? Whoosh! The 5-colored star splitter arrow in Ning Cheng's hand finally shot out, and the killing intent that had been condensing around him for a long time burst out at this moment. Spatial cracks appeared out of thin air, and the gray-colored death aura condensed into a single point. At the same time, the boundless killing intent rushed out. Poof! Ning Cheng spat out another mouthful of blood, and his entire body fell to the ground. He couldn't even utter a single word. The first time he brought out the 5-colored star splitter arrow, he hadn't fully recovered. This time, he brought out the 5-colored star splitter arrow again. Moreover, it was done in such a hurry that it ended up injuring his foundation. Although he had the mysterious yellow origin, this injury couldn't be healed in a day or two. Boom! Manjuran's layers of overlapping space turned into nothingness under this killing intent. His domain also felt like a piece of paper, without any resistance. Manjuran was stronger than the red-haired man, but not by much. Since the red-haired man couldn't avoid Ning Cheng's arrow, he couldn't avoid it either. The 5-colored star splitter arrow tore through the gray-colored killing intent and directly slammed into Manjuran's chest. At this moment, Manjuran's body suddenly trembled, and it seemed as if he had transformed into another body. Bang! Manjuran's body made a loud noise, and a scream rang out as Manjuran's body exploded into nothingness. Shen Mengyan looked at Manjuran, who had turned into nothingness, in shock. She saw another Manjuran sitting next to him. This Manjuran looked exactly the same as the Manjuran who had turned into nothingness by the 5-colored star splitter arrow. Blood still dripped from the corners of his mouth, celestial essence in chaos, and his aura unstable. Essence spirit substitute. Shen Mengyan screamed out in shock. She came from Yu Clan's corner and had an extraordinary master. She had naturally heard about essence spirit substitutes. Essence spirit substitutes were supreme treasures, and it was equivalent to giving people an extra life. As long as you had an essence soul substitute, even if you were about to be killed and you had no ability to resist, the essence soul substitute would replace you at the moment of your death, saving you from death. Manjuran couldn't escape just now, but he managed to escape unscathed. Apparently, he had lost his essence spirit substitute, which saved him from death. Manjuran reached out and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. Looking at the horrified Shen Mengyan, he slowly climbed up. If he had to face Ning Cheng, he wouldn't hesitate to bring out an escape talisman to escape. Moreover, he didn't even have 1% of his strength left. Moreover, he had used his essence spirit substitute, which meant that he had consumed a lot of his strength. If he wanted to restore his strength, he would need time to heal. However, Shen Mengyan was just a heaven-seated cultivator, so he didn't put her in his eyes at all. This ant had destroyed his essence spirit substitute. If he didn't teach this ant's Tao companion a lesson, then he wouldn't be Manjuran, the famous ninth prince. He had always been the one to teach others a lesson. When did it become someone else's turn to teach him a lesson? Shen Mengyan quickly sobered up. This ninth prince didn't have the absolute strength to stop her. She quickly rushed forward, picked up Ning Cheng, turned around, and flew out. Manjuran, on seeing Shen Mengyan daring to escape, sneered and raised his hand to throw out a red light. In this place, even if he didn't chase after her, Shen Mengyan wouldn't be able to escape from the mysterious yellow starland. After Shen Mengyan rushed out of Shui clan's lair, all she saw was a crisscrossing ravine. Where were the streets of Moi City? Ning Cheng had told her to throw out the array flags after reaching the streets of Moi City. But now that there were no streets, what should she do? Chuan Xinluo, Qiao Jierue, Zhangkang Tianji, Yi Jiufeng, and the others had all disappeared. Even the eyeless Yi Mingyuan and the thin, bamboo-like man weren't here. Only the enchanting woman and the masked man were still sitting on the edge of a huge crack. The enchanting woman had suffered serious injuries and couldn't move at all. But when the masked man saw Shen Mengyan coming out with Ning Cheng in her arms, he immediately roared, "Put him down." Shen Mengyan didn't even bother to pay attention to the masked man. She raised her hand and shot out several red lights. This was her most powerful means, something her master had left for her after she advanced to the heaven-seated realm. The masked man had already suffered serious injuries from Yi Jiufeng. But now, under his anger, he could barely bring out a round shield to block in front of him. The red lights slammed into the round shield with a sharp whistle, causing the masked man to spit out another mouthful of blood. But the red lights still managed to pierce through his thigh, spilling another mouthful of blood. At this time, Manjuran also came out. Shen Mengyan didn't have much time to think and threw out all the array flags in her hand. As soon as she threw out the array flags, they formed a series of spatial fluctuations. In just a few breaths, these spatial fluctuations gathered and formed a huge vortex. This vortex rolled up Shen Mengyan and disappeared from this place in an instant. The masked man and Manjuran stared at Shen Mengyan's disappearing figure in a daze. They couldn't believe it. After a while, Manjuran spoke up in shock, setting up a hidden temporary one-way teleportation array. This person is simply a genius. He said that Ning Cheng was a genius, but not only because Ning Cheng could arrange this array formation, but also because of two other points. First, Ning Cheng could think of setting up a one-way teleportation array after entering Moi City. Second, even after Moi City was destroyed, this one-way teleportation array could still be used. Apparently, when setting up this teleportation array, the other party had already thought of hiding the teleportation array flags through space. In fact, Manjuran didn't fully understand the power of Ning Cheng's array formation. Ning Cheng's array formation didn't have a high grade, but the array flags he arranged could resonate with each other. Even if it blasted away from its original position, it could be restored to its original position in the shortest time through other array flags. He can't escape. This array formation is just a short-distance teleportation array. Manjuran quickly understood the shortcomings of Ning Cheng's teleportation array and spoke up with a fierce tone. He would first seal off the mysterious yellow starland, and then slowly deal with Ning Cheng after his injuries healed. Chapter 808. Shen Mengyan landed on the edge of a forest full of withered trees. She cautiously scanned the surroundings with her spiritual consciousness. After a while, she was sure that no one was around. Shen Mengyan's attainments in the Tao of arrays were average, but she also knew that the few array flags Ning Cheng had asked her to throw out were teleportation array flags. She sighed in her heart and admired her daughter Yuqing's vision even more. In just a short time after entering Moi City, Ning Cheng had already found a way out. Ning Cheng not only had great strength, but he also had extraordinary vision. If only Qing was still here. Shen Mengyan looked down at Ning Cheng, whose hair had turned gray and looked much older than her, and sighed softly. She guessed that this place was still in the mysterious Yellow Starland. Although she had escaped the range of that ninth prince's spiritual consciousness, she had to keep going. Taking out the map jade strip Ning Cheng gave her, Shen Mengyan's hand trembled slightly. The words Thousand Mound Forest were written on the jade strip, along with the direction and location. Wasn't the Thousand Mound Forest the place she told Ning Cheng to go? Since Ning Cheng wanted her to enter the Thousand Mound Forest, it must have been for her sake. Shen Mengyan felt grateful towards Ning Cheng and quickly rushed into the Thousand Mound Forest with Ning Cheng in her arms. A few days later, Shen Mengyan stopped. The location marked on the jade strip's map stopped here. She didn't know what to do next, but Ning Cheng in her arms still hadn't woken up. Thump! A terrifying sound emerged, and Shen Mengyan opened her mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. This thumping sound almost turned her 5 viscera and 6 bowels upside down. Even her sea of consciousness was tumbling endlessly. What kind of sound was this? Why was it so terrifying? Shen Mengyan quickly retreated. If this terrifying sound came out a few more times, even without the ninth prince's pursuit, she would die here. Aunt Yen, many thanks to you. Ning Cheng opened his eyes. He was also awakened by the same thumping sound. Shen Mengyan, who was still in a panic, saw Ning Cheng waking up and immediately spoke up with joy, "You're awake. We're all family. What's there to thank?" These were Shen Mengyan's subconscious words. Since learning about the relationship between Ning Cheng and Yu Qing, she really didn't treat Ning Cheng as an outsider. Ning Cheng sighed. Although he and Yu Qing truly had nothing to do with each other, he didn't refute Shen Mengyan's words. Instead, he took out a few medicinal pills and swallowed them. After taking a few pills, Ning Cheng's qi and blood quickly converged together, and his body's recovery also accelerated. Another thump sound emerged, causing Shen Mengyan's heart to churn once again. Fortunately, she was a little further away from that thump and didn't spit out blood. Ning Cheng, we have to leave this place quickly. This sound is too terrifying. Shen Mengyan brought out a defensive weapon and spoke to Ning Cheng. This voice seemed to contain a kind of Dao charm, which even her celestial essence couldn't suppress. Ning Cheng took in a deep breath and spoke, "Aunt Yen, we can't leave. Although the sound was terrifying in this place, we could still keep our lives. Once we leave the altar of forefathers' library, we will definitely die. With Manjurin's character, it would be strange if he would let us go after I crippled his substitute." Ning Cheng still retained some consciousness when he fell. He knew that because of Manjurin's essence spirit substitute, his 5-colored star splitter arrow couldn't kill the other party. Leaving the altar of forefathers' library at this time would truly be courting death. After saying this, Ning Cheng swallowed a few more medicinal pills and barely brought out the everlasting Blue Thunder Fort before saying, "Aunt Yen, don't retreat. Let's go in. Only by going in will we have a chance to survive." Thump sound emerged again, and it hit Ning Cheng's everlasting Blue Thunder Fort. Only then did Shen Mengyan discover that she wasn't affected at all. She didn't continue to retreat and rushed towards the altar of forefathers' library with Ning Cheng in her arms. She had seen Ning Cheng's strength with her own eyes, and she believed that Ning Cheng had made the right choice to come in. Shortly after Shen Mengyan and Ning Cheng entered the direction of the altar of forefathers' library, a figure appeared where Shen Mengyan had previously stood. However, this figure looked in the direction of the altar of forefathers' library and didn't follow them. Instead, he chose to leave. 2 hours later, Shen Mengyan stopped outside a collapsed canyon. This canyon was in a mess, with collapsed buildings everywhere. "Aunt Yen, let's stop here. I will release the restrictions around the everlasting Blue Thunder Fort. You can integrate a trace of your spiritual consciousness into my everlasting Blue Thunder Fort and help me control the Blue Thunder Fort. I want to heal." Ning Cheng didn't wait for Shen Mengyan to answer and immediately separated the control of the everlasting Blue Thunder Fort. Shen Mengyan immediately felt the vastness of the everlasting blue thunder fort and the endless lightning arcs within it. Fortunately, the everlasting blue thunder fort was Ning Cheng's weapon. So, with her helping Ning Cheng to support it, it didn't put much pressure on her. After Ning Cheng transferred part of the control of the everlasting blue thunder fort to Shen Mengyan, he turned completely silent. He almost shielded his six senses and focused on healing himself. When Shen Mengyan saw this, she quickly brought out an abode-type weapon and put Ning Cheng into the abode-type weapon. She then sat down beside Ning Cheng and controlled the everlasting blue thunder fort while waiting for Ning Cheng to heal himself. Time passed slowly, and after a few days, Shen Mengyan started to feel the strain. She couldn't hold on for much longer. But seeing that Ning Cheng showed no signs of getting up, she could only continue to hold on. Another 2 days passed, and Shen Mengyan started to feel that her spiritual consciousness wasn't strong enough. Controlling the blue thunder fort became even more difficult. Feeling the everlasting blue thunder fort shrinking with every thump, Shen Mengyan started to feel more and more worried. She took out some permanent essence pills and started to absorb the pure starry sky essence spirit chi from the permanent essence pills while hoping that Ning Cheng would wake up soon. The starry sky essence spirit chi from the permanent essence pills quickly helped Shen Mengyan fall into a state of cultivation. The moment she fell into this state of cultivation, she sensed a powerful aura. This aura immediately dissolved some of the remaining pill toxins and impurities in her body. At the same time, it also purified her sea of consciousness and meridians. Not only did she absorb the permanent essence pills at a faster rate, but she also gained a deeper understanding of spirit techniques and Tao laws. Shen Mengyan subconsciously moved closer to Ning Cheng. The closer she got to Ning Cheng, the more powerful this aura became. Shen Mengyan, who was immersed in cultivation, vaguely sensed that the aura affecting her cultivation was an origin aura. She didn't force herself to wake up. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. What Shen Mengyan absorbed was indeed an origin. It was the mysterious yellow origin that Ning Cheng absorbed during his cultivation and healing. Generally, when Ning Cheng cultivated, no one would stay by his side. But this time, Shen Mengyan staying by his side was a complete accident. Under Ning Cheng's mysterious yellow formless, the mysterious yellow origin continued to circulate through her entire body. Shen Mengyan leaned against Ning Cheng's side while absorbing the mysterious yellow origin aura to cleanse her body. During the circulation of the mysterious yellow origin, no impurities were allowed. Shen Mengyan's cultivation method was far worse than Ning Cheng's. Even if she cultivated to the heaven-seated realm, her body still contained some impurities. Under the circulation of the mysterious yellow origin aura, these impurities would slowly seep out. After Shen Mengyan fell into cultivation, the everlasting blue thunder fort stabilized. While cultivating, Shen Mengyan could not only use the everlasting blue thunder fort to protect her and Ning Cheng, but also continue to cultivate. Another month passed by in a flash, and Shen Mengyan, who was in the middle of cultivation, suddenly woke up. She felt blocked by a cultivation barrier. She didn't continue cultivating but looked at her body in shock. Her entire body was covered with a layer of filth and exuded a strange smell. Seeing this situation, Shen Mengyan almost screamed out. After she reached the heaven-seated realm, one could say that the impurities in her body had decreased to almost nothing. But she never expected that so many impurities would seep out today. Even when she was next to Ning Cheng, she still felt ashamed. However, when her spiritual consciousness fell onto Ning Cheng's body, she finally felt relieved. Ning Cheng was still unconscious, apparently in the deepest level of seclusion to heal himself. Shen Mengyan breathed in relief and quickly stood up. She then activated a few isolation restrictions before taking off all her clothes. After casting a few dirt removal techniques on her body, she quickly removed the impurities and changed into a set of underwear. Just as Shen Mengyan changed into her underwear, she didn't even have time to put on her coat when she felt a loud bang. The everlasting blue thunder fort outside exploded. At the same time, a spiritual consciousness passed through and fell on her body. Shen Mengyan screamed. She hadn't even put on her clothes when such a thing happened. With the everlasting blue thunder fort blasted open, Ning Cheng also woke up. Although Shen Mengyan controlled the everlasting blue thunder fort, it was connected to his mind. Therefore, when someone blasted open his defensive weapon, how could he not wake up? Boom! The next moment, Shen Mengyan's abode-type weapon exploded, and the horrified Shen Mengyan quickly hid behind Ning Cheng. This instinctive avoidance made her forget that others had spiritual consciousness. A fiery gaze fell on her and Ning Cheng. The masked man was staring at Shen Mengyan, who only wore underwear. "You two adulterers, I've disturbed your pleasure." The masked man gave a cold snort, and murderous aura erupted from his body. His domain even stirred up the surrounding space. "Beast, what does our healing have to do with you? A beast like you killed so many people, you deserve to die." Shen Mengyan recovered and cursed with hatred. She had a clear conscience, so she naturally wouldn't have any psychological shadows. She quickly took out her coat and was about to put it on when another thud sounded. A trace of blood overflowed from the corner of her mouth, and the coat in her hand fell to the ground. Ning Cheng sneered in his heart. A mere late-stage eternal cultivator dared to disturb his healing? Even if he hadn't fully recovered from his injuries, a late-stage eternal cultivator wouldn't dare to disturb him. Ning Cheng was just about to bring out the celestial rainbow purgatory spear when his expression changed slightly. The next moment, he put away the celestial rainbow purgatory spear, grabbed Shen Mengyan, and quickly rushed into the dilapidated canyon entrance. The masked man bit his lips until a trace of blood came out. He looked in the direction Ning Cheng disappeared but didn't continue to chase. After a few breaths, two more figures landed beside him. One of them was the eyeless Yi Mingyuan, and the other was a man in green robes. Yi Mingyuan looked in the direction Ning Cheng disappeared and spoke with a slightly hoarse voice, "This person is quite powerful. He could even escape from the ninth prince." The green-robed man just stared in the direction Ning Cheng disappeared and didn't speak. He didn't know what method Ning Cheng used to seriously injure the ninth prince. But since Ning Cheng could kill Hong Luan, it was normal for him to injure the ninth prince. Chapter 809. Thump thump, the everlasting blue thunder fort blocked all the sounds. Even if Ning Cheng hadn't fully recovered from his injuries, his current cultivation wasn't something the heaven-seated realm could compare to. Ning Cheng walked in several directions but didn't encounter any spatial devouring formation. He knew that to enter the Blood Lake, he had to find the location of the spatial devouring formation. After another incense stick worth of time, a burst of spatial collapse appeared behind Ning Cheng. Shen Mengyan's face turned pale. She had never seen such a powerful spatial collapse. "It's here." Ning Cheng sped up and rushed forward. He now understood that this place should be a huge spatial collapse formation. Entering this place, one had to face certain dangers. If one was unlucky, one might even end up swallowed by this spatial collapse formation. Ning Cheng kept going down. When the space behind him collapsed and disappeared, Ning Cheng finally stopped. Only when everything around him disappeared did Ning Cheng stop. "What is this place?" Shen Mengyan asked in shock after Ning Cheng put her down. Everything in front of her was dark red, and there seemed to be a fishy smell everywhere. But she soon found that she didn't seem to have put on a coat and quickly took out a dress and put it on. Seeing that Ning Cheng's attention wasn't on her, Shen Mengyan breathed in a sigh of relief. She took a few steps forward and asked, "Ning Cheng, do you know where this place is? Did you come here on purpose?" Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness carefully observed the surroundings. He understood that this place was man-made. As long as one came to this place, it meant that there would be danger everywhere. Ning Cheng nodded, "Yes, I know where this place is. Back then, I owed a favor to a person who saved my life when he was trapped here. When he saved me, I promised that I would come and save him. Now that the ninth prince has taken over the mysterious Yellow Starland, I worry that one day the ninth prince will refine this place completely. At that time, I won't even have a chance to repay his kindness." Shen Mengyan felt surprised. Ning Cheng had come to this place. Ning Cheng quickly walked forward and soon stopped again. Shen Mengyan opened her mouth wide and looked at the scene in front of her in shock. She saw a blood lake with a huge heart in it. Not to mention that she had never seen such a big heart before. Shen Mengyan didn't even think that such a big heart existed. His heart was beating non-stop, and every time it beat, it would make a loud dong sound. Shen Mengyan finally understood where that soul-piercing thump sound came from. She never thought that a heart could contain such a powerful force. If not for Ningqing having this blue thunder fort, she would not have been able to stand up straight. This blood lake, this heart. Shen Mengyan muttered to herself. She could see that this heart came from a human body. What kind of giant would have such a huge heart? Aunt Yen, you stay here. The everlasting Blue Thunder City will protect you. I'll go save them. Ningqing stared at the blood lake while speaking to Shen Mengyan. Save who? There's no one here. Shen Mengyan spoke up in doubt. Ningqing looked at the blood lake in front of him and spoke in a dignified manner. This blood lake is very terrifying, there are endless insects inside. Our breaths will be transmitted into the blood lake. After a while, the worms in the blood lake will definitely come out. While talking to Shen Mengyan, Ningqing's eyes kept staring at the blood lake. The heart in the blood lake wasn't that big. However, this heart contained countless dark red insects. These insects could explode the heart and swarm out. He even doubted that the heart would still beat even if he killed all the bugs. Shen Mengyan subconsciously shuddered when she heard Ningqing's words. When Ningqing spoke about the endless insects, she immediately recalled the scene of those terrifying black insects surrounding her when she first entered the mysterious yellow starland. The blood lake seemed to have been startled by the conversation between him and Shen Mengyan. Blood bubbles started bubbling up, followed by a dense cha-cha-cha-cha sound. Shen Mengyan looked at the endless red insects crawling out of the blood lake, and her scalp felt like it was going to explode. These bean-sized dark red insects, covered in mucus, piled up one by one and crawled out of the blood lake. As if they had smelled her and Ningqing's auras, they all swarmed towards them. At the same time, a terrifying pressure came from the space around them, and Shen Mengyan felt the pressure of controlling the everlasting Blue Thunder Fort increase. Aunt Yen, try to control the everlasting Blue Thunder Fort. I'll go save them. Ningqing brought out the celestial rainbow purgatory spear. If he were still in the heaven-seated realm, Ningqing would have been suppressed. But Ningqing's current cultivation was much stronger than when he was in the heaven-seated realm. Even if he hadn't fully recovered his strength, he still wasn't someone in the heaven-seated realm could compare to. As the endless insects rushed towards Ningqing, Ningqing raised his hand and brought out a time wheel. These insects weren't just disgusting, they were also extremely hard. However, Ningqing believed that no matter how hard these insects were, they couldn't withstand a law of time-related spirit technique like the light wheel. The gray time wheel swept out and crushed the piles of dark red insects into nothingness. Ningqing finally breathed in a sigh of relief. He wasn't afraid of these insects, but he was afraid that he couldn't kill these insects. As long as the time wheel could kill these insects, he didn't have to worry about them. No matter how many insects there were, no matter how powerful they were meaningless in front of the time wheel that could sweep everything. As the insects continued to pile up and rush towards Ningqing, Ningqing kept shooting out array flags while bringing out the time wheel from time to time. He knew that these insects, driven by the altar of Forefathers' library, would form a huge blood-sucking grand array. This blood-sucking grand array could even suck out all the essence blood in his body. Ningqing worried that he couldn't resist it, so he arranged the array formation first. As long as he killed these insects, once the black altar of Forefathers' library came out, he would have one less threat. Ningqing's time wheel swept away the waves of dark red insects, but they still continued to rush towards Ningqing's time wheel. Ningqing could clearly see the water level in the blood lake drop a little, and he understood that it should be caused by his time wheel killing many insects. Perhaps because of Ningqing's terrifying strength, the insects in the blood lake burst out with bursts of woo-woo-woo screeches. At the same time, the huge heart exploded again, and a mountain of insects swarmed out. Ningqing couldn't wait for more and more insects to appear. Therefore, he kept shooting out the time wheel. These insects couldn't even last half a breath in front of the time wheel. At this moment, a loud rumbling sound emerged, and Ning Cheng took in a deep breath. He knew that the altar of Forefathers' library was about to come out. Sure enough, after this rumbling sound, a huge black altar appeared on the opposite side of the blood lake, with the words Forefathers' library engraved on the altar. A whimpering sound came from the altar, and the insects stopped rushing towards Ning Cheng after hearing the whimpering sound. Instead, they began to line up in a certain pattern. In a short time, a blood-sucking grand array formed by these insects was arranged. Ning Cheng was very clear that each of the insects here represented an array flag. Ta-ta, walala, at the same time that the black altar of Forefathers' library appeared, the giant dragging the heavy iron chain also appeared. Ning Cheng naturally understood that once the altar of Forefathers' library appeared, the giant would have to appear. The purpose of the giant's appearance was to provide essence blood to the altar of Forefathers' library. Ning Cheng didn't want the giant's essence blood to be absorbed by the blood lake. He raised his hand and shot out a time wheel towards the blood-sucking grand array formed by the insects. In Ning Cheng's view, as long as he blew up the blood-sucking grand array, the giant's essence blood would not be absorbed by the blood lake. Maybe this altar of Forefathers' library would also be useless. Shen Mengyan, who stood behind Ning Cheng, stared at the 10-feet-tall giant in a daze. She really couldn't hold back her tears. She had suffered this kind of pain, so she knew the suffering of giants. Back then, she had also been locked in a water prison, and it was Ning Cheng who had rescued her. This giant was even more miserable than her. There was a huge hole in his chest, one of his eyes was blind, and the other had been dug out. Even his arm was left with only one. Whether it was his chest that had been dug out or his eye that had been dug out, black blood kept flowing down. The giant arched his body and tried to grab the heart in the blood lake, but both his feet and one of his hands were locked by a thick iron chain. His hand could only reach the surface of the blood lake, and he could no longer extend it even a little bit. I sacrifice my blood, give me back my heart. I sacrifice my blood, give me back my eye. The giant's mournful voice made Shen Mengyan feel even more sad. Who was so vicious? Who was so inhumane to torture a person like this? It would be better to just kill that person directly. Ning Cheng's time wheel slammed into the blood-sucking grand array formed by the insects and splashed out a dark red Dao charm light. However, the time wheel unexpectedly blocked it and could no longer kill the insects. Ning Cheng felt shocked. If he couldn't kill these insects, how could he break the array? As the dark red insect's blood-sucking grand array completed, the whimpering sound of the altar of Forefathers' library grew even more shrill. The giant became more and more restless. He shouted as he tried to grab his heart. As the whimpering sound of the altar grew more and more intense, the giant's blood finally turned into a blood bridge and fell into the lake. But this time, because of Ning Cheng's interference, the blood bridge wasn't as fierce as the last time. Ning Cheng endured the powerful blood-sucking force and shot out a dozen time wheels. He didn't believe that he couldn't destroy this blood-sucking grand array. The giant, who wanted to grab his heart, finally felt Ning Cheng next to him. He stopped his actions and turned his head to Ning Cheng. Are you the person I saved last time? Why are you here again? The celestial rainbow purgatory spear in Ning Cheng's hand turned into a spear intent and broke through the space between him and the blood-sucking grand array. Then, with the help of the time wheels, he shot out with all his might. However, he replied, because I promised you that as long as I'm alive, I will come back to help you. The giant stood there in a daze. He had helped countless people in his life and was deceived by countless people. Except for the dead she-er, no one had ever come to help him. Not to mention keeping his promise and returning to this place again. He clearly had no eyes, but 2 lines of tears flowed down his cheeks as he murmured, she-er, you were right. There are always good people in this world. He shed tears of excitement, not because Ning Cheng came to save him, but because she-er didn't lie to him. Chapter 8:10. Boom! The celestial rainbow purgatory spear and the time wheel slammed into the blood-sucking grand array formed by the dark red insect tide, causing the aura of time to splatter out. However, the insect tide grand array only shook a little but didn't break. The black altar of forefathers library whimpered even more miserably, and the insects that came out of the blood lake and the heart of the blood lake also became denser. The giant did not care about Ning Cheng's attack. After he muttered to himself, he spoke to Ning Cheng. I know, you are called Ning Cheng. If you can't save me, I'll send you away. With that, the giant grabbed at the void again and tore open another crack in the void. After tearing open space, the giant no longer paid any attention to Ning Cheng and continued to rush towards the blood lake. Ning Cheng could clearly see that the spatial crack opened by the giant this time was much smaller compared to the last time. Ning Cheng didn't leave, nor did he care about the spatial crack opened by the giant. The celestial rainbow purgatory spear came to a standstill over the blood-sucking array formed by the dark red insects, and the frequency of Ning Cheng's movements grew more and more urgent. The time wheel blasted into the blood-sucking insect array one after another, and the blood bridge connecting the giant to the blood lake also came to a halt at this moment. Ning Cheng cast Sunset's Twilight and the time wheel spirit technique at the same time. He let the blood-sucking insect array come to a standstill in the blink of an eye. At the same time, he kept blasting out time wheels. This time, he didn't conjure a sunset. All he wanted was for time to stop. Even if it was only for a breath of time, it would be enough. No matter how powerful the blood-sucking bug array was, it was just something that could be controlled. Once the laws of time came to a stop, he would be able to blast open this tenacious blood-sucking array. Bang bang. One after another, the time wheels slammed into the blood-sucking insect array, causing the blood-sucking insect array, which had remained still for less than a breath, to loosen up for the first time. The moment the blood-sucking insect array loosened, the celestial rainbow purgatory spear, which had been suspended above the blood-sucking insect array for a long time, slammed down. The whimpers coming from the altar of forefathers library turned sharp, but even so, it couldn't stop Ning Cheng's celestial rainbow purgatory spear. The celestial rainbow purgatory spear turned into a spear intent that traversed space and shot down without leaving a trace. With that kind of power, even if a planet stood in front of the celestial rainbow purgatory spear, it would most likely turn into nothingness. Catcha! The blood-sucking insect array, which was clearly composed of insects, gave out a cracking sound under Ning Cheng's celestial rainbow purgatory spear. The blood-sucking insect array loosened up completely at this moment. Almost at the same time as the blood-sucking insect array loosened, several time wheels blasted out. The time wheel rolled over the countless insects, and the previously tough insects disappeared without a trace. Without the obstruction of the array formation, these dark red insects couldn't resist Ning Cheng's time wheels for even a moment. Since Ning Cheng had already blown up the insect array, even if the scattered insects rushed up, it would only lead to their deaths. The moment the blood-sucking insect array was blown apart by Ning Cheng, the blood bridge that flowed from the giant to the blood lake abruptly broke apart. The giant could not believe it as it once again turned its head towards Ning Cheng. Not only did Ning Cheng not leave, but he also stopped his blood from flowing into the blood river. Without the blood-sucking insect array, the altar of forefathers library's control over the giant immediately weakened. At least the giant would not continue to crazily grab his heart. At this moment, the three chains on the giant's body suddenly began to shrink, as if they were going to pull the giant back into the abyss. Ning Cheng's expression changed. If the giant got pulled back again, he wouldn't be able to save this giant at all. He didn't know where this giant came from, and this giant wasn't even locked in this interface. He must not let the giant get pulled away. Ning Cheng raised his hand and shot out a few time wheels towards the altar of forefathers library. When the time wheels hit the altar of forefathers library, it only produced a gray light before the aura of time disappeared without a trace. His time wheels couldn't do anything to this altar of forefathers library. You can't destroy that altar. The giant tried to forcibly stop his body from being pulled back by the three iron chains. But the pulling force was too strong, and the giant's body made cracking sounds. He only managed to hold on for a moment before the three chains continued to pull him back. Even without the giant's reminder, Ning Cheng's time wheels hit the altar of Forefathers' library. He understood that he couldn't destroy the altar of Forefathers' library with his current strength. He quickly brought out the celestial rainbow purgatory spear and condensed all his celestial essence to attack one of the chains. Only by breaking these three chains would he be able to save the giant. Boom! The violent celestial essence force exploded on the chain, but Ning Cheng soon felt disappointed. Even after he attacked with all his strength, the chain couldn't even leave a mark. Ning Cheng knew that it wouldn't make any sense for him to smash the three chains with the celestial rainbow purgatory spear. The grade of these three chains was not something his celestial rainbow purgatory spear could break, nor could he break them with his cultivation. Seeing the giant getting pulled further and further away, Ning Cheng grew more and more anxious. If he couldn't save the giant this time, he might even end up harming the giant. Ning Cheng, thank you for coming to save me. I'm leaving. No matter if we can meet again in the future or not, you will always be my second friend. The giant felt Ning Cheng's disappointment and anxiety and tried to persuade him instead. The distant altar of Forefathers' library's screams grew sharper and sharper. The louder the altar's screams, the greater the pulling force on the giant. Ning Cheng felt angry, but he also knew that he couldn't blow up the altar of Forefathers' library. Ning Cheng had never felt so small before. Even against the ninth prince, when he was at an absolute disadvantage, he didn't feel this way. This feeling was too uncomfortable, and it made him unable to breathe. I'm too weak. Ning Cheng clenched his fists and watched the giant's figure about to be pulled into the darkness. He felt extremely uncomfortable in his heart. Seeing that the giant was about to disappear in front of him, Ning Cheng suddenly remembered that the giant's eye was still on him. He quickly took out the jade box. The moment he took out the jade box containing the eye, the giant also sensed the jade box in Ning Cheng's hand and roared even more violently. Exerting all his strength, he even stopped himself from being dragged down. His two empty eyes stared at Ning Cheng's hand, as if he could still see it. The skin and bones all over his body bulged up, forcibly stopping the pull of the chains. Ning Cheng was holding his eye, it had to be his eye. Ning Cheng saw the giant's expression and felt a sense of sadness in his heart. He rushed forward and wanted to hand the eye to the giant. But when he rushed to the giant's side, he suddenly remembered something, the dagger that nailed the giant. He hadn't refined the dagger, not because he didn't want to refine it, but because he wanted to give it to the giant. He didn't think that he wouldn't be able to save the giant, so it wasn't until this moment that he remembered the dagger. Ning Cheng quickly took out the dagger, rushed behind the giant, raised the dagger in his hand and slashed down. A tearing murderous aura came crashing down, and even the void in front of the dagger seemed to have a trace of it. A shallow gap appeared on the chain, but Ning Cheng's heart was filled with regret. He regretted that he did not refine this dagger. If he had refined this dagger, he would have definitely been able to cut off these three chains. But now it was too late. At his speed, he feared that the giant would be pulled into the void before he could even cut off one of the chains. Sure enough, after Ning Cheng's dagger slashed down, the altar of Forefathers' library in the distance started to emit a trace of black aura, and the shrill cries became even more violent. The moment Ning Cheng took out the dagger, the giant turned his head towards the dagger in Ning Cheng's hand, and a hint of surprise appeared on his face. Ning Cheng, give me the dagger. Ning Cheng did not hesitate to put the dagger in the giant's hand, and the dagger seemed to suddenly grow bigger in the giant's hand. The giant held the dagger and chopped down on the chain that locked him. Chi! The space around him made a chi-chi fluctuation, and a dark spatial crack appeared in front of the dagger. A violent killing intent invaded, and Ning Cheng, who was standing a little further away, felt a chill. Kacha! The chain that locked the giant's wrist made a kacha sound, and like a piece of tofu, it was cut off by the giant. The giant bent down and chopped down twice in succession. Kacha, kacha, with two more kacha sounds, the giant cut off the three chains himself. After the three chains were cut off by the giant, they were instantly dragged into the void and disappeared without a trace. After cutting off the chain that locked him, the giant let out a violent roar, grabbed the dagger, and rushed towards the dark altar of Forefathers' library. The altar seemed to feel that something was wrong, and with a shrill scream, retreated into the dark void like the chain, and disappeared without a trace. Seemingly knowing that he couldn't catch the altar, the giant sighed, and the violent rage gradually subsided. He then reached out and grabbed the heart in the blood lake. Not knowing if it was because Ning Qing killed the insects that escaped from the heart had become very dim, and even the sound of its heartbeat had turned flat. Ning Qing also put away the everlasting Blue Thunder City. With the giant controlling his heart, the heart's beating Dao charm would no longer hurt Shen Mengyan. The insects disappeared, the altar retreated, and the giant grabbed the heart. Ning Qing put away the everlasting Blue Thunder City, and Shen Mengyan also came out. When she saw the giant grab the heart, she exclaimed, "Big guy, there are a lot of insects in that heart." The giant shook his head. "After Ning Qing saved me, these insects turned into nothingness. Only after the altar locked me in place could the altar's Dao charm allow them to survive. Now that I'm free, and without the altar, these insects will disappear." After saying that, the giant put the heart in the blood lake again. Ning Qing and Shen Mengyan watched in surprise as the blood lake quickly faded, and the blood lake also started to get shallower. At the same time, the heart also slowly regained some of its previous vitality. Although its heartbeat still felt weak, it no longer looked like it was on the verge of death. Ning Qing handed the jade box containing the eye to the giant. "The last time I felt your aura was the same as the aura of this eye. I thought you must have lost it. After I went out, I deliberately found it for you." The giant took the jade box and opened it. Then, he took out the eye and put it into his empty eye socket. The eye seemed to have a life of its own. As soon as it fell into the giant's eye socket, it quickly merged with the giant, and no one could see any abnormalities. The giant still didn't speak. Instead, he grabbed the heart in the blood lake, which had regained some of its vitality, and pressed it against his chest. The giant's heart quickly healed, and soon, the giant hole in his chest disappeared. At this time, even Shen Mengyan could feel the giant's aura growing stronger. Only then did the giant hand the dagger to Ning Qing. "Thank you. You saved me. You're much better than that Yuechen." Chapter 8:11. Ning Qing pushed the dagger back to the giant again. "Senior, I originally planned to give this dagger to you. This dagger nailed your eyes, and I believe that one day, you can use it to nail your enemy's eyes." "What? Did you just say Yuechen?" Before the giant could speak, Shen Mengyan, who had already walked to Ning Cheng's side, spoke up with excitement. Seeing Shen Mengyan's excitement, the giant immediately replied, "Yes, many years ago, a man named Yuechen also came here by accident. He told me that as long as I saved him, he would definitely come to save me in the future. But later, he didn't come." Ning Qing naturally knew who Yuechen was. He immediately recalled what the giant said when he asked the giant to save him. "Many years ago, I also helped a person in the same way, but he never came back to help me." At that time, Ning Qing cursed this unscrupulous fellow in his heart. Fortunately, the giant had a good heart and helped him. Ning Qing feared that Shen Mengyan would feel sad and was about to speak when Shen Mengyan spoke up in front of him. "Senior, maybe he was delayed by something. I think he will come back in the future if he has the chance." The giant shook his head. "When I saved him, I knew that he wouldn't come. I have a feeling when I look at people, that is, I can tell if this person is lying or not. Yuechen should be the kind of person who doesn't mean what he says. If he didn't have something to delay him, he wouldn't have come to save me. When he secretly took a drop of my blood from the blood pool, he probably thought that I didn't see it." Shen Mengyan lowered her head. She really wanted to ask Yuechen about the reason he came here, but the giant's words left her with no face to ask. She couldn't understand why the giant would still save Yuechen if he said that he knew that Yuechen wouldn't come to save him. The giant obviously wasn't as slow as his body. On the contrary, he spoke very clearly, and his intelligence wasn't low. He could see that Shen Mengyan and Yuechen knew each other, and he could also see what Shen Mengyan was thinking. He spoke up calmly, even if I had to do it again, I would still save him. After saying that, the giant looked up at the endless void. It seemed to be answering Shen Mengyan's words, but it also seemed to be talking to himself. She told me not to treat a life based on my own impression. It's unfair to them. At any time, in any place, there are always good people. She wouldn't lie to me, and neither would she lie to me. Speaking until here, the giant retracted his gaze and looked at Ning Cheng. Thank you. It was you and she who strengthened my faith. You are also my friend. My name is Pan Qian, and I come from the Great Change Realm. From now on, we are friends. You can call me Pan Qian. He only thought about what she said about being unfair to others, but he didn't seem to think about whether it was fair to him that others didn't come here to repay him. Great Change Realm? What is this place? Ning Cheng asked in doubt. He knew that there were many things that he did not understand. From the looks of it, Pan Qian came from a very high-level interface. If he wanted to ask him, he might even be able to inquire about Sung Wei's whereabouts. Pan Qian said to Ning Cheng, give me some materials first, I will refine a few sets of clothes. Ning Cheng then remembered that Pan Qian's clothes were also in tatters. He quickly took out a ring and handed it to Pan Qian. Pan Qian, you can take the things inside. I still have a lot. The ring contained 5-star veins, a pile of permanent essence pills, and a pile of artifact crafting materials. Pan Qian didn't stand on ceremony with Ning Cheng. When the ring reached his hand, the pile of materials quickly transformed into several sets of clothes. His artifact crafting method was completely different from Ning Cheng's. Ning Cheng didn't even feel any spatial fluctuations before he finished refining. After putting on the clothes, Pan Qian said to Ning Cheng, I've been trapped in this interface for many years. I know that the laws here are incomplete, and it should be a very low-level interface. The Great Change Realm I mentioned is one of the 5 highest-level positional planes, and it's the first positional plane we can reach. The other 4 places are the Absolute Beginning Realm, Grand Beginning Realm, Grand Essence Realm and Grand Ultimate Realm. I'll tell you about these later. This place is a huge interface array formation, which locks me in between the 2 realms. Now that I've broken free, and I've also cut off 3 of the ceiling boundary chains, this place will soon collapse. Ning Cheng, who wanted to ask more questions, felt speechless after hearing this. Knowing that this place was about to collapse, why didn't he leave quickly? Instead, he had the energy to refine clothes and answer my questions. At this moment, he finally understood how thick Pan Qian's nerves were. Ning Cheng rushed to the side of the sifting fairy grass and pulled out the dozen stalks of sifting fairy grass before saying, Aunt Yen, let's get out. Pan Qian nodded, follow me. After saying that, Pan Qian chose a direction and strode out. Although Shen Mengyan felt very complicated and had a lot of questions to ask, she also knew that this wasn't the right time. The 3 of them hadn't walked far when a burst of spatial collapse came from behind them. Pan Qian moved quickly, covering hundreds of meters with each step. Coupled with his fast speed, the 3 of them quickly walked out of the deepest part of the Altar of Forefathers library and once again arrived at the Thousand Mound Forest. After the Ning Cheng trio came out, the first person they saw was Man Jiuren. Standing next to Man Jiuren were Yi Mingyuan, the masked man, and the green-robed cultivator. Ning Cheng didn't see the skinny bamboo-like fellow, but he didn't know if Qiao Jierui and Zhangkang Tianji worked together to kill him. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness swept over Man Jiuren and understood that Man Jiuren's cultivation had already recovered. Man Jiuren's cold gaze swept past Ning Cheng and fell on Pan Qian. After looking at Pan Qian up and down for a while, he asked, Yuechen, is he the giant sealed by the Altar of Forefathers library? Although he didn't care about Ning Cheng, his mind had always been focused on Ning Cheng. Once Ning Cheng brought out that terrifying black arrow, he would immediately escape. He couldn't let the black arrow's killing intent lock onto him. He knew that once Ning Cheng brought out that arrow, Ning Cheng wouldn't be able to control it. As long as he waited for the arrow to drain Ning Cheng, he would come back. At that time, Ning Cheng would be at his mercy. The masked man bowed and said, "Yes, ninth prince, it's this person. His blood is a lake of blood and contains the purest ancient bloodline. The drop of blood I brought to the ninth prince came from him." Manjurin laughed and nodded. Yes, since he came out, he must have brought that lake of ancient blood essence with him. Yuechen, you did a good job and made a great contribution. It's my honor to work for the ninth prince, but I dare not claim any credit. The masked man bowed and said. Manjurin looked at Pan Qian and said, "In addition to refining the mysterious yellow starland, I also came here for you. If you're willing to join me, I can spare your life. I just want 2/3 of your essence blood." Pan Qian ignored Manjurin's words. Instead, his gaze fell on Yu Yuechen and spoke up calmly. "Yu Yuechen, I saved you back then, and you said that you would come back to help me. I didn't expect you to come back to help me, but why did you bring people to rob me of my essence blood?" When she heard Manjurin call the masked man Yuechen, Shen Mengyan kept staring at the masked man. She hadn't noticed it before, but now she thought of a terrible consequence. Hearing Pan Qian call out Yu Yuechen directly, Shen Mengyan finally couldn't hold back her emotions and screamed, "You're Yuechen, you." After she said the word, "you," she became even more sure that this masked man, who hid his aura, was the one she was looking for. Yu Yuechen, her husband. The masked man took off his mask and stared at Shen Mengyan coldly. "You bitch, slut. I must have been blind to have married a bitch like you." But he didn't put the mask into his ring. Instead, he held it in his hand. Shen Mengyan's face turned as pale as a sheet of white paper. She didn't expect that the person she worked so hard to find would turn out like this. Following that ninth prince, not only did he ignore her, but he also insulted her. If he still had a little bit of her in his heart, he would have spoken up when Manjurin only faced her and Ning Cheng. If it weren't for Ning Cheng's means, that ninth prince would have insulted her in front of everyone. Even if she didn't say anything, she, Shen Mengyan, had been imprisoned in Yu Clan's Corner's water prison for so many years, yet he didn't even bother to look at her. Pan Qian had saved him, but not only did he not repay the kindness, but he even brought his master here to take Pan Qian's essence blood. Why didn't she notice any of this when she was with him? Shen Mengyan could no longer hold back the despair in her heart. She opened her mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. At the same time, she felt her cultivation starting to dissipate. She hated herself for being blind. After he secretly advanced to the Eternal Realm, not only did he not return to Yu Clan's Corner, but he also left alone. She should have known that this person was selfish. How much effort did Yu Clan's Corner spend to nurture him? When he could have helped Yu Clan's Corner, he didn't even want to do anything. Instead, he turned around and left in silence. But she didn't think of any of this. She only thought of him saying that he would come back and take her away in the future. Yu Yuechen's cold gaze swept over Ning Cheng and glanced at Shen Mengyan with disdain. "Did you have a good time with your adulterer these days? You like that kind of stuff, don't you?" Shen Mengyan didn't even have the strength to refute. Celestial essence overflowed from her dantian and she wanted to self-destruct. Shen Mengyan was Yu Qing's mother, so Ning Cheng naturally couldn't watch Shen Mengyan self-destruct in front of him. He raised his hand and patted Shen Mengyan's back. The celestial essence overflowing from Shen Mengyan's body immediately calmed down. "Aunt Yen, it's not worth it to self-destruct for this kind of person." Ning Cheng sighed and tried to persuade her. If Shen Mengyan wanted to continue self-destructing, he wouldn't be able to stop it. He couldn't be with Shen Mengyan all the time. Shen Mengyan looked at Yu Yuechen in a daze and spoke up after a while, "You're right. It's not worth it to commit suicide for this kind of person." She immediately thought of Yu Qing. Yu Qing was no longer here, so what relationship did she have with Yu Yuechen? But now that the two of them had nothing to do with each other, she couldn't even figure it out. Thinking of Yu Qing, Shen Mengyan sighed. Chapter 8:12. "Is this your woman?" Manjurin interjected at this moment. "It doesn't matter how Ninth Prince deals with me. I don't want such a woman." Yu Yuechen spoke with a respectful tone. He didn't even look at Shen Mengyan. He really is a scum. Ning Qing spoke with a sarcastic tone. Manjuran didn't care about Ning Cheng's sarcasm towards Yu Yuechen. Instead, he remained vigilant towards Ning Cheng's actions while asking the giant, "What do you think? Ning Cheng, do you think this person deserves to die?" Pan Qian didn't answer Manjuran but asked Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng stared at Manjuran and spoke to Pan Qian, "If I had the ability to kill this fellow, I would have killed him a long time ago." "Okay, you're my brother. I think you're right." Pan Qian raised his hand and slapped Manjuran. With just this one move, the surrounding space seemed to be on the verge of collapsing. Manjuran felt horrified in his heart. He didn't expect giants to be so terrifying. With this kind of power, even a few Manjuran wouldn't be a match for this giant. Boom boom boom. Manjuran's golden whip rolled up layers of space. But in front of Pan Qian's slap, it felt like child's play and directly turned into powder. The giant didn't use any spiritual sense, just its terrifying power was enough to completely suppress the surrounding space. Manjuran couldn't even breathe, let alone move. Almost at the same time, the mask in Yu Yuechen's hand turned into a ray of light. The reason why he was holding the mask in his hand was because there was a talisman hidden in the mask. This talisman carried with it a Dao rune of escape light. Clearly, it was a top-notch escape talisman. Unfortunately, he had also underestimated Pan Qian's strength. Pan Qian's power directly crushed this side of the space, making it crackle. His escape talisman couldn't be activated at all. Manjuran saw Yu Yuechen activate the talisman in the mask the moment the giant made his move. He finally understood and roared, "Yu Yuechen, you cunning villain." He finally realized that Yu Yuechen didn't really want to offer the ancient blood essence in the blood lake to him, Manjuran. Instead, he used Manjuran to die, and then took all of Manjuran's things for himself. Manjuran didn't know the giant's power, but Yu Yuechen already knew it. Therefore, he knew that Manjuran would only be courting death if he tried to attack the giant. Therefore, he had long prepared for Manjuran's death. However, even Yu Yuechen didn't expect that the giant would be rescued. Therefore, when the giant attacked Manjuran, Yu Yuechen's first thought was to escape. Bang! Ning Cheng had already shattered Manjuran's body once. But this time, under Pan Qian's slap, it turned into minced meat once again. The Jithe gang, man that, flew and disappeared. With Pan Qian looked at the ray of light and spoke to Ning Cheng with some regret, his life essence escaped. With my current strength, I can't chase him down. Ning Cheng also couldn't help but sigh. This ninth prince truly had a lot of means to escape. Not only did he have an essence spirit substitute, but now that his corporeal body had completely collapsed, he could still take away his essence spirit through an escape light. Seeing Pan Qian's gaze sweeping over, Yu Yuechen's face turned pale. He wanted to use Manjuran to fight against the shackled giant and then reap the benefits. What he wanted was the things Manjuran left behind in the Nine Emperor Peak. It's just that he didn't expect that the giant would break free. His wishful thinking would come to nothing. Therefore, when Pan Qian attacked, he planned to use the breaking boundary talisman to escape. It's just that Pan Qian's strength was too great. With Pan Qian in control of this space, he couldn't activate the breaking boundary talisman. Shen Mengyan suddenly knelt on the ground. "Senior Pan, please let him go." "You're still pleading for him?" Pan Qian felt puzzled. Shen Mengyan then looked at Ning Cheng, and Ning Cheng understood what she meant. Shen Mengyan didn't want to plead for Yu Yuechen, but she couldn't watch Yu Yuechen die in front of her. If that was the case, perhaps she would always feel guilty in the depths of her heart. This guilt wasn't towards Yu Yuechen, but towards the dead Yu Qing. Seeing Ning Cheng not speaking, Pan Qian sighed. He raised his hand and grabbed a spatial crack, grabbed Yu Yuechen, and threw him in. "For the sake of my brother Ning Cheng, I'll spare your dog life." After throwing Yu Yuechen away, Pan Qian looked at Yi Mingyuan and the green-robed man, who were suppressed by him. He then grabbed the two and threw them into the spatial crack. Ning Cheng secretly sighed at Pan Qian's kindness. If it were him, he would have killed these two fellows. After easily dealing with the ninth prince and the others, Pan Qian said to Ning Cheng, "The 5 grand realms are also called the Good Fortune 5 grand realms. The reason for this name is that each of the 5 realms has a gateway leading to good fortune. Unfortunately, after a melee of powerhouses, the Grand Beginning Realm, Grand Essence Realm and Grand Ultimate Realm of the 5 grand realms all collapsed and split into many parts. Only the Grand Change Realm remained intact." Pan Qian, are you saying that the gates of good fortune of the other 4 great realms are broken? If we want to enter the gates of good fortune, we can only go to the Great Change Realm? Ning Cheng was not a stranger to good fortune. His mysterious yellow bead was a good fortune treasure, and Sung Wei had also helped him through the gate of good fortune. Pan Qian shook his head, "You don't understand what I mean. I said that there is a gate that leads to good fortune, not that this gate exists or is material. Only in this place would one have the opportunity to comprehend the gate of good fortune. Only by comprehending the gate of good fortune would one be able to touch the gate and push it open to enter. Apart from the Great Change Realm, the other great realms had collapsed and their rules were incomplete. Therefore, even if you comprehend it to the extreme, you won't be able to sense and touch that door." Ning Cheng clenched his fists. He had to go to the Grand Change Realm. He felt sure that Sung Wei had gone to one of the grand worlds, most likely one of the 5 grand worlds. Seeing that Ning Cheng seemed to be lost in thought, Pan Qian spoke up, "Ning Cheng, don't think too much about it. Since ancient times, there was only the legend of good fortune. This legend was very old, and many people knew about it. However, no one has ever been able to open the gate of good fortune and enter it. If you have the chance in the future, don't stay in this low-level grand world. The laws here are very incomplete. You can go to the 5 grand worlds. If one day I can find the way to the Grand Change Realm, I will pick you up." Ning Cheng gave an N sound and asked a moment later, "Pan Qian, can you tell me what kind of world the 5 grand worlds are?" Pan Qian remained silent for a long time before speaking. "I have always been by Shi-Er's side and rarely go out. However, I know that the Grand Change Realm is a vast place filled with spiritual auras and Tao charms. Any place is a treasure land of spiritual beings, a beautiful paradise." Shi-Er had told him all of this, but he really didn't know what was so good about the Grand Change Realm. Speaking of this, Pan Qian thought for a while before continuing, "Shi-Er once told me that the 5 grand worlds have a saying, for have one. I heard that the powerful spirit techniques of these realms are, Grand Beginning has spirit runes, Grand Beginning has spirit light, Grand Essence spirit thunder, Grand Ultimate has yin and yang, and Grand Change is formless." Pan Qian told Ning Cheng almost everything he knew, but all his knowledge came from Shi-Er. Ning Cheng had never heard of any of these spirit techniques, and he knew that Pan Qian should only know these. Ning Cheng didn't continue to ask Pan Qian about the good fortune 5 grand worlds. Instead, he said, "Elder brother Pan Qian, the mysterious yellow star lens vitality is weak now. Elder brother, why don't you come with me to my mysterious yellow celestial river?" Pan Qian shook his head, "I want to go back. I want to find the Grand Change Realm. I promised Shi-Er that I would go back." Pan Qian had mentioned Shi-Er several times, so Ning Cheng guessed that Shi-Er must have a very high position in Pan Qian's heart. Therefore, he said, "If I can go to the Grand Change Realm in the future, I will definitely look for you." "Okay, that's it. I'm leaving," Pan Qian said to Ning Cheng and Shen Mengyan before tearing through space to leave. Shen Mengyan suddenly spoke up, "Senior Pan Qian, I would like to ask you to take me out of here." Pan Qian looked at Shen Mengyan in confusion, "You want to go with me?" After saying that, he subconsciously looked at Ning Cheng again. He felt that Shen Mengyan was a beautiful woman, and that Yu Yuechen wasn't worthy of Shen Mengyan at all. Only brother Ning Cheng was worthy of Shen Mengyan. Now that Yu Yuechen was gone, it was only right for brother Ning Cheng and Shen Mengyan to stay together. Shen Mengyan spoke up firmly, "Yes, senior, please help me." Ning Cheng didn't speak. He understood Shen Mengyan's thoughts. Shen Mengyan didn't want people to gossip about her. Even her former husband would gossip about her. It would be strange if others didn't gossip about her when they saw her together. Moreover, this place had already broken Shin Mengyan's heart. She didn't want to stay in this sad place anymore. Her daughter died in this place, her husband betrayed her, and even her senior apprentice sister was plotted against. It turned out that her only purpose for living was gone. What courage and reason did she have to stay in this place? Seeing that Ning Qing didn't object, Pan Qian nodded, "Okay, I'll take you away. My path is dangerous, but if you're not afraid, you can come with me. Also, don't call me senior in the future. Just call me elder brother Pan Qian." "Yes, elder brother Pan Qian." After Shin Mengyan called out this sentence, her entire person turned strange. It felt as if she was no longer the Shin Mengyan of the past. "Okay." Pan Qian then said to Ning Cheng, "Brother Ning Cheng, take care of yourself after I leave." Ning Cheng was just about to speak when Shin Mengyan also spoke up, "Junior apprentice brother Ning, thank you for taking care of me. Mengyan will be leaving now. See you again if fate wills it." Hearing Shin Mengyan call him junior apprentice brother Ning, Ning Cheng froze for a moment and swallowed the words Aunt Yen. He knew that Shin Mengyan had completely forgotten the past at this moment. Ning Cheng sighed. Perhaps this was Shin Mengyan's rebirth. It was just like reincarnation. Although she hadn't experienced the reincarnation of her body, her spirit had reincarnated once. "Elder brother Pan Qian, senior apprentice sister Mengyan, take care." Ning Cheng bowed. Pan Qian raised his hand and tore open space again. Taking Shin Mengyan with him, he stepped into the vast and boundless void. After a while, the torn space returned to its original state. Ning Cheng stood alone in the withered thousand-mound forest and looked at the vast and boundless sky. A feeling rose in his heart that was hard to describe. Chapter 8:13. Ning Cheng arrived at the Sacred Light City alone. The Sacred Light City still looked magnificent and huge. Outside the Sacred Light City, Ning Cheng could not feel any restriction or array formation, but after Ning Cheng entered the Sacred Light City, he immediately felt layers upon layers of entrapment arrays. He secretly rejoiced that he did not choose to meet Manjurin in Sacred Light City. Otherwise, even if he brought out the five-colored star splitter arrow and injured the ninth prince, Shin Mengyan might not have been able to escape from Sacred Light City. Not to mention Shin Mengyan, even Chuan Xinlo and the others would find their hands and feet tied under the layers of restrictions around Sacred Light City. As for setting up a one-way teleportation in Holy Light City, it was impossible. Sacred Light City was like a dead city. Apart from the fact that the buildings were more complete than Moi City, there was almost no difference between it and the dilapidated Moi City. Moreover, the buildings in Holy Light City were not in the form of streets at all. Instead, they were made up of altars. Ning Cheng understood that Manjurin had deliberately built this place to refine the mysterious Yellow Starland. As for why Manjurin wanted to refine the mysterious Yellow Starland and even turn this place into a dead zone, Ning Cheng couldn't figure it out. After entering the Sacred Light City, Ning Cheng did not see anyone here. The people who stayed here must have left as well. Along the way, Ning Cheng destroyed all the entrapment arrays in the Sacred Light City and soon arrived at the heart of the Sacred Light City. There was a 9-emperor peak here, which should be the hub where Manjurin refined the entire mysterious Yellow Starland. Ning Cheng only knew that a powerhouse could refine a starland. As for how to refine it, he had never come into contact with it. Regardless of whether he would do such a thing or not, Ning Cheng had to go to this 9th emperor's peak to have a look. The restrictions around the 9 Emperor's Peak were densely packed. Ning Cheng was just in case there were still people in this place, as such he constantly dropped down array flags on the way up the 9 Emperor's Peak. The 9th Emperor's Peak was a lot higher than the Sacred Light City, as such Ning Cheng had to be very careful, coupled with throwing out array flags along the way. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, he finally arrived at the top of the 9th Emperor's Peak. At the top of the 9th Emperor's Peak, Ning Cheng unexpectedly saw a woman. Everyone had left, but there was still a woman chained here. What made Ning Cheng puzzled was that he knew this woman. It was the silver-haired woman with a dignified appearance whom Manjurin had brought to Moi City. However, at this time, she was chained to the altar at the top of the 9th Emperor Peak. She looked very strange. When this silver-haired woman saw Ning Qing coming over, her eyes also revealed some doubts. However, she did not speak. Ning Qing remembered that this woman, along with Yu Yueqian and another seductive woman, had besieged Yi Jiufeng. It stood to reason that she was one of 9th Prince Manjurin's people, so how could she be locked up? There was an empty space in the middle of the altar in front of the woman, as if something had been taken away. Ning Qing walked over and carefully examined it, only then was he convinced that someone had taken away something from this place. Who took the things here? Ning Qing looked back at the silver-haired woman and asked. The silver-haired woman didn't answer Ning Qing's words. Instead, she asked, did you finally join Manjurin? That Manjurin doesn't have enough face for me to join him. Moreover, I'm the one asking you now, not you asking me. Ning Qing spoke with a sarcastic tone. The silver-haired woman looked at Ning Qing in doubt before speaking. Yes, there was a life force plate here, but it was taken away by Ku Sheng. Who is Ku Sheng? What is the life force plate? Ning Qing asked. The silver-haired woman replied, you've seen it before. It's that thin cultivator. He came here and said that the 9th prince wanted him to take away the life force plate. The life force plate is a top-grade treasure that can absorb the life force of any living creature or even a planet. Ning Qing felt shocked when he heard this. He finally understood why the mysterious yellow starland's life force had dissipated and was about to disappear. It turned out to be the life force plate. Such a heaven-defying thing that could absorb all life force, just how powerful was it? From the looks of it, Manjurin most likely wanted to refine the mysterious yellow starland on the surface, but in fact, he wanted to extract all the life force in this place. From this, one could imagine that everyone who stayed in the mysterious yellow starland should have already died. With all their life force sucked away, it would be strange if they could still survive. This Manjurin's actions were truly vicious and insidious. Ku Sheng took away the life force plate, but he didn't kill you. Ning Qing looked at the silver-haired woman with some suspicion. The silver-haired woman froze for a moment after hearing Ning Qing's words. But she immediately understood and spoke with a trembling voice, you mean you killed Manjurin, and Ku Sheng came here to steal the life force plate? If Ku Sheng didn't come here to steal the life force plate and really came here on orders, why would he kill her? Only if the other party killed Manjurin and Ku Sheng betrayed the 9th prince, would he kill her when he stole the life force plate. It seems that this silver-haired woman didn't know about Manjurin being slapped away by Pan Qian. The silver-haired woman didn't wait for Ning Qing to answer. She understood the general situation and quickly said, please let me go. I will repay you. Manjurin caught me, and what he wants is my essence blood. According to reason, Manjurin is our common enemy. It's not difficult to save you, and I believe you. But you haven't told me why Ku Sheng didn't kill you. Instead, people would know that he took away the life force plate. Ning Qing spoke with a calm voice. The silver-haired woman dragged the chain and stood up. She looked at Ning Qing and said, because he doesn't dare to kill me. As long as he kills me, he will die without a doubt. Not to mention him, even Manjurin wouldn't dare to kill me now. Besides, he took away the life force plate, which is easy to guess. He can't hide it even if he wanted to. This silver-haired woman was only in the eternal realm, and her cultivation was sealed. After seeing the situation clearly, Ning Qing nodded, I can let you go, but you have to answer a few questions for me. First, what is the origin of Manjurin? Second, where does he come from? The silver-haired woman replied without hesitation, his father is a powerhouse with more than 100 sons. Manjurin ranks 9th. As for his origin, you wouldn't know it even if I told you. The place he came from is called the Grand Essence Sea. Ning Qing murmured, Grand Essence Sea. Is it a place in the Grand Essence realm? Is it a sea dragon king? Huh, you know about the Grand Essence realm? The silver-haired woman asked in surprise. Ning Qing didn't answer the silver-haired woman's question. Instead, he grabbed a handful of array flags and threw them out. Then, he brought out the celestial rainbow purgatory spear and shot at the chain that locked the silver-haired woman. This silver-haired woman was trapped by a trapping array. As for the chain that locked Pan Qian, it wasn't worth mentioning at all. With just a single spear strike, Ning Cheng had broken the chain. With Ning Cheng unlocking the trapping array and breaking the chain, the silver-haired woman instantly regained her freedom. She raised her hand to her glabella and then spat out a mouthful of filthy blood. With this mouthful of filthy blood, the silver-haired woman's aura grew stronger. Her body trembled slightly, and the remaining chain around her turned into slag and fell to the ground. Thank you for saving me. I'm going back now. This is for you. After restoring her cultivation, the silver-haired woman sighed, and a talisman appeared in her hand out of thin air. At the same time, she took out a ring and handed it to Ning Cheng. You're also from the Grand Essence realm. Can this talisman break through the interface and go back? Ning Cheng didn't take the ring from the silver-haired woman. Instead, he looked at the talisman in the silver-haired woman's hand and asked in doubt. The silver-haired woman said, I'm from the Grand Essence realm, and this talisman can break through the interface. However, this talisman can't take me back. It can only bring me closer to home. The Grand Essence realm and this place are two different positional planes. Ordinary talismans can't break through it. Ning Cheng took in a deep breath and said, I don't want your ring. Can you give me one of these talismans? After seeing Manjurin's group and talking to Pan Qian, Ning Cheng understood that even if his cultivation reached the peak of the Eternal Realm one day, or even reached Tao-confirming realm like Chuan Xinluo, he would still be an ant. In this vast and boundless universe, he would still be an ant. If he wanted to become stronger, he had to go to the 5 Grand Realms. He couldn't go to the Grand Change Realm. But now that the silver-haired woman said that she had a talisman close to the Grand Essence Realm, if he could get one, he might have some hope in the future. The silver-haired woman looked at Ning Cheng in doubt. The ring she gave him contained many good things, enough to benefit Ning Cheng a lot. But she didn't expect Ning Cheng to not want the ring and only wanted a talisman. In fact, this talisman was indeed more precious than the ring. But it was useless to Ning Cheng. She thought about it and took out a talisman and handed it to Ning Cheng. I only have 3 of these talismans. Since I promised you, then I'll give you one. Goodbye. After saying that, the talisman in the silver-haired woman's hand turned into a ray of light that tore through space, wrapped up the silver-haired woman, and disappeared without a trace. Ning Cheng looked at the talisman in his hand that exuded Dao charm. He then carefully took out a jade box and put away the talisman. This talisman was much more advanced than the breaking boundary talisman he had obtained from Duan Gantai. After carefully checking the sacred light city and making sure that no one was around, Ning Cheng used the time will to blast the sacred light city to the ground before leaving the mysterious yellow starland. Chapter 8:14. Ning Cheng had just returned to stately River Star when he met Yi Jiufeng waiting outside. Senior Apprentice Sister 9 Phoenix, why are you here? Ning Cheng put away the starry sky wheel and asked in doubt. When Yi Jiufeng saw Ning Cheng, her face immediately showed a hint of relief. Senior Apprentice Brother Ning, I knew you would be fine. That's why I've been waiting for you here after I've finished some things. Ning Cheng quickly spoke up, Senior Apprentice Sister 9 Phoenix, please come to my mysterious yellow sect to talk. Staying outside is not the way to treat guests. Yi Jiufeng shook her head, Senior Apprentice Brother Ning, I came here to say goodbye to you. I will leave after I finish speaking here. I will not enter the mysterious yellow sect. In fact, I was prepared to wait for another month. After a month, if Senior Apprentice Brother Ning still hasn't returned, then I would also be planning to leave. Goodbye. Ning Cheng looked at Yi Jiufeng in doubt. He couldn't understand what Yi Jiufeng meant. Since Yi Jiufeng wanted to return to spirit heaven, there was no need for her to say goodbye to him. Although he and Yi Jiufeng had a good relationship, it wasn't to the point where he had to come over and say hello to her over such a trivial matter. Moreover, he had to wait for a few months. Yi Jiufeng understood Ning Cheng's doubts and gave out a sigh, I plan to leave this side of the starry sky. I've already handed over the Grand Spirit Heaven's starry sky to others. Not only me, but Leveled Heart Heavenly Emperor, Xiao Jierui, and Zhangkang Tianji also left this place. If I am not wrong, it should be very difficult for them to come back. Including myself, once I leave, it will be very difficult for me to return. Is Heavenly Emperor Leveled Heart willing to leave Grand Culmination Starry Sky? I thought that he would not give up until he killed me. Ning Qing spoke with a smile. Yi Jiufeng didn't ridicule Chuan Xinluo this time. Instead, she spoke up with a lonely tone. Compared to the vast law world, even if you dominate this place for countless eras, what can you do? In the past, we hid here and fought with each other, but we were just frogs in a well. Now that we know there are higher planes of laws, we don't even need to prove our Tao to go there. Who would still be willing to stay here? The 5 Grand Realms? Ning Qing immediately understood. Who would want to stay here and enjoy their retirement if they knew about the 5 Grand Realms? Among those who could cultivate to the level of Chuan Xinluo and Yi Jiufeng, which one of them wasn't a wise person with a brilliant mind? This kind of person would definitely not stay here and wait for death after knowing that there was a stronger plane. 5 Grand Realms? Yi Jiufeng repeated in doubt before saying, I don't know. Take a look at this. After Yi Jiufeng finished, she took out a crystal stone and put it in Ning Cheng's hand. Ning Cheng held the crystal and immediately felt a higher grade of essence spirit qi. Even the purer permanent essence pills couldn't compare to it. He looked at Yi Jiufeng in shock and asked, what kind of crystal is this? Ning Cheng thought that if he used this crystal stone for cultivation, he would be able to reach the late-stage eternal realm in a much shorter time. At the same time, he wouldn't need to spend a lot of time in seclusion. These are the crystals used for cultivation in their place. These things are as common as ordinary starry sky crystals in our place. Even the various Tao fruits are not rare in their world. Yi Jiufeng spoke with a sigh. She thought back to the time when the few of them went to the ancient Shadow Temple together. Chuan Xinluo had obtained a Tao fruit, and even succeeded in reaching Tao confirming realm with this Tao fruit. His achievements far surpassed the 3 of them. You mean the place where the 9th prince is? Ning Cheng returned the crystal stone to Yi Jiufeng and asked. Take this crystal stone, I still have a few more. Yi Jiufeng pushed the crystal stone back to Ning Cheng and said, yes, the person who gave us the crystal stone and traded with us is called Ku Sheng. Chuan Xinluo severely injured Ku Sheng, and to save his life, he traded a lot of starry sky spirit grasses with us. At the same time, it also showed us that we were just frogs in a well and had shallow knowledge. Ning Cheng felt even more puzzled. Wasn't Chuan Xinluo fighting Yi Mingyuan? Yi Jiufeng replied, I'm not as good as Leveled Heart Heavenly Emperor. He pretended to be seriously injured and escaped during his fight with Yi Mingyuan. In fact, he didn't leave at all but hid outside the mysterious Yellow Starland. Zhangkang Tianji and Xiao Jierui, on seeing Leveled Heart Heavenly Emperor escape, quickly rushed out of the mysterious Yellow Starland. Since the 3 of them left, I naturally wouldn't stay behind. Ku Sheng chased after them, but he didn't expect to get seriously injured by Leveled Heart Heavenly Emperor, who hid outside the mysterious Yellow Starland. Ku Sheng wanted to escape after getting seriously injured, but the 4 of us trapped him in the starry sky. He held an escape talisman in his hand and wanted to trade with us. He said that if we didn't trade, he would immediately break through the boundary and escape. Did he guide you to a high-level interface and even gave you a top-grade breaking boundary talisman? Ning Cheng asked. Yi Jiufeng nodded. Yes, he took out a top-grade breaking boundary talisman and said that he could use this talisman to get close to the positional plane they are in. In fact, I still don't understand why he didn't use this talisman to escape but chose to trade with us. Was he afraid of that 9th prince? Ning Cheng didn't explain. He already knew why Ku Sheng wanted to trade with Yi Jiufeng and the others. Ku Sheng stayed with the 9th prince for the same purpose as Yu Yuechen, that life force plate. Since Ku Sheng stayed here with a purpose, he naturally wouldn't escape. It was laughable that the 9th prince thought that he had subdued these people, but he didn't expect that they all fancied his things. So, if Chuan Xinluo and the others left, wouldn't you have no way to escape alone? Ning Qing thought that there was only one talisman, and since Yi Jiufeng didn't leave with Chuan Xinlo and the others, she wouldn't be able to reach the Grand Essence Realm even if she wanted to. Yi Jiufeng smiled. I obtained an opening Heaven Child talisman in the ancient Shadow Temple. I didn't know what it was at first, but I know it now. My talisman is much better than Ku Xing's talisman. I'm confident that I can find the way there. Then I wish Senior Apprentice Sister Nine Phoenix a smooth journey. Ning Qing understood that Yi Jiufeng had made up her mind to leave. Yi Jiufeng spoke up, Senior Apprentice Brother Ning, I came here to tell you about this. But if you want to go together, you can come with me. That ninth prince has an unusual origin. Even if we escape, he won't give up in the future. Ning Qing smiled, I won't leave for the time being. But Senior Apprentice Sister Nine Phoenix doesn't have to worry about it. That ninth prince's corporeal body has already collapsed. It would take him many years to recover. I suspect that ninth prince has already left this positional plane. I don't know where he is hiding to heal. What? Yi Jiufeng truly felt shocked this time. She wanted to leave to pursue strength, but at the same time, she also felt a little worried about the ninth prince finding her. But Ning Qing said that he had severely injured the ninth prince to the point that even his corporeal body had disappeared. It was simply too outrageous. Yi Jiufeng naturally thought that Ning Qing had injured the ninth prince severely. She didn't even know that Pan Qian existed. Is this true? Yi Jiufeng repeated the question in disbelief. Ning Qing spoke with certainty, it's true. If you don't believe me, you can go to Sacred Light City and have a look. I raised the entire Sacred Light City to the ground. Many thanks, Senior Apprentice Brother Ning. This time, I can finally feel at ease leaving Spirit Heaven. Yi Jiufeng's face lit up with joy as she spoke about leaving this side of the universe. Ning Qing watched Yi Jiufeng leave and return to stately river stars-covered Snow City with some disappointment. All the people he knew, whether they were enemies or friends, had left one by one. Although Ning Qing knew that if he stayed here, he could only reach Dao confirming at most. But he couldn't leave yet. Even if he wanted to leave, he had to take Luofei and Rulin with him. Moreover, he still had a few things to do. One was to go to the ancient Shadow Temple, and the other was to go into seclusion to study array formations. He had to become an array Dao master and then go to the place where Yan Ji teleported away. Time flew by, and in a blink of an eye, 3 years had passed since Ning Qing returned to stately River Star. During these 3 years, apart from cultivation, Ning Qing studied array formations and discussed the Tao of alchemy with Zhang Saihe. His cultivation also stabilized at the peak early stage Eternal Realm, only a step away from the middle stage Eternal Realm. But because of the lack of top-grade Starry Sky Spirit grasses, his attainment in the Tao of alchemy remained stagnant, and he couldn't verify a bunch of theories. As for the array Tao master, Ning Qing knew that he needed time to accumulate. Ji Luofei occasionally came out to meet with Ning Qing for a few days, but she spent most of her time in seclusion. Ning Rulin's cultivation was too low, so she spent all her time on cultivation. As for Ning Ruoqing, she still remained in seclusion. Ning Ruoqing's seclusion required too much Starry Sky Essence Spirit Qi, so Ning Qing placed 10 star veins under her seclusion cave. But what puzzled Ning Qing was that Duan Gantai didn't come to find him. It stood to reason that Duan Gantai, who had suffered such a huge loss, should have gone crazy and come to settle accounts with him. Ning Qing had stayed in stately River Star for a few years, but he hadn't even seen Duan Gantai's shadow. It was as if this fellow had disappeared. After 3 years of consolidation, Ning Qing understood that his cultivation had already reached this point, and it would be difficult for him to take another step forward. He was different from others. Maybe other cultivators, as long as they accumulated enough time in seclusion, would eventually break through. But for Ning Qing, he couldn't wait that long. He didn't have that much time to accumulate enough time for cultivation. The fact that the ninth prince hadn't been killed left a hidden danger in his heart. If that fellow came to culmination heaven one day, no one here could stop him. Seeing that Ning Ruoqing showed no signs of waking up from her seclusion, Ning Qing said goodbye to Zhang Caihe again and prepared to enter the ancient shadow temple alone. The ancient shadow temple had gray Toot Toot in it, and it was also in stately River Star. Ning Qing wouldn't leave this place with peace of mind if he didn't figure it out. Ning Cheng's array formation restrictions had long since sealed the ancient shadow temple. Even if it wasn't far from covered snow city, no one could enter it except for Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng entered the ancient shadow temple once again. Just like before, it was still cold and gloomy. The black poisonous mist layered on top of each other, but the murderous aura here had weakened a lot compared to the last time. When Ning Cheng first came here, the poisonous mist didn't affect him at all. Now that his cultivation and body forging had improved by a few levels, the poisonous mist couldn't affect him at all. Ning Cheng soon arrived outside the pentagonal hall. After he escaped from this place, he had sealed it up. But now that he came here again, he found that the seal still remained, as if it hadn't been touched. Chapter 8:15. Ning Cheng opened the seal and entered the pentagonal hall. The pentagonal hall did not look any different from when he left it. In the middle of the hall was a big dark hole, and below the hole was a pitch-black public square. Other than the occasional invasion of some Yin winds, Ning Cheng did not see any other abnormalities. After waiting for a while, and making sure that nothing had changed, Ning Cheng turned around and sealed the entrance once again, before jumping down from the middle of the hall. Ning Cheng's twin wings of the heavenly clouds had long since undergone nirvana, allowing his speed and teleportation capabilities to increase by several times compared to the past. Previously, he could always escape even if he could not beat them, so he naturally did not have to worry about it now. Moreover, Ning Cheng suspected that this fellow below couldn't even rush out of the pentagonal hall of the ancient shadow temple. A sinister wind wreaked havoc in the plaza, and it was more than 10,000 times stronger than the one above. As a late-stage starry sky body cultivator, Ning Cheng did not fear these nether winds. But just in case, he still brought out the everlasting Blue Thunder Fort. The paper door in front of the plaza that had the words Hell's Gate written on it was blown by the chilly wind, and it was still rattling loudly. Ning Cheng sucked in a deep breath, as he was secretly on guard, as he slowly walked over. Several violent gusts of Yin wind finally converged together and swept over with a whimpering sound. The nether wind immediately slammed into Ning Cheng's everlasting Blue Thunder Fort, causing the Blue Thunder Fort's thunder light to overflow in all directions. The violent nether wind, under the impact of the thunder light, quickly began to dissipate. These violent nether winds, which could easily tear an eternal-level cultivator into pieces, posed no threat to Ning Cheng's everlasting Blue Thunder Fort. At this moment, Ning Cheng truly realized his own progress. Initially, his everlasting Blue Thunder Fort could also easily block these nether winds. However, after these nether winds swept over the everlasting Blue Thunder Fort, he still felt a little uncomfortable. He had a feeling that his primordial spirit was about to leave his body. But now, the effect on him could be said to be minimal. Ning Cheng pushed open the paper door and saw the dark yellow spring pond once again. The two doors on the opposite side of the yellow spring pond still had the words life and death written on them. Ning Cheng had already learnt from Yi Jiufeng and the others that one would end up dead after entering these two doors. Although he believed that if Chuan Xinluo could leave, then he could also leave. However, he didn't want to go inside right now. His main purpose in coming here was to find Grey Toot Toot, and also to see what kind of place the ancient Shadow Temple was. Ning Cheng directly used the everlasting Blue Thunder Fort's protection and jumped into the Yellow Spring Pond. The cold inside the Yellow Spring Pond was different from ordinary ice. It had a cold aura that could strip away one's essence spirit. Fortunately, after advancing to the Eternal Realm, Ning Cheng's essence spirit had become several times more stable compared to when he was in the Life and Death Realm. Therefore, although the cold aura that stripped away his essence spirit still had some effect on him, it wasn't much. The everlasting Blue Thunder City broke through the black and gloomy waters of the Yellow Spring Pond and sank much faster than before. In just a short time, Ning Cheng reached the bottom of the Yellow Spring Pond. His everlasting blue thunder fort did not compress much like the last time because of the yellow spring pond, which stripped away one's essence. Stepping on the dark red stone slabs of the yellow spring pond, countless mournful cries rang out around him. These voices were illusory and ethereal. Even if Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness grew more than 10 times stronger than before, he still couldn't pinpoint where these voices came from. Ning Cheng walked all the way to the edge of the blood river from the bottom of the yellow spring pond. The pale white stone arch bridge at the edge of the blood river still looked the same as before, without any changes at all. The blood river still roiled under the bridge. The 5 scribbled words "First Bridge of Coping" on the stone stele at the head of the bridge looked a bit blurry due to a dark red mist. Ning Cheng stopped next to the stone stele of the first bridge of Coping. Unlike the last time, he didn't feel Grey Tutut's aura this time. Ning Cheng walked to the middle of the bridge of Coping but didn't see Grey Tut, nor did he see the black stone man blocking the way. It seemed that after the last one he had destroyed, there were no more such nether soldiers here. A violent black nether wind suddenly swept over and rushed towards Ning Cheng as if it was alive. Boom! The nether wind slammed into the everlasting blue Thunder City, and the thunder light exploded again. However, the everlasting blue Thunder City's thunder light directly twisted the nether wind into nothingness. Ning Cheng's sea of consciousness felt a slight chill, but he didn't feel anything wrong. This made Ning Cheng feel relieved. After his sea of consciousness advanced to the eternal realm, even Chuan Xinluo couldn't compare to him. After the everlasting blue Thunder City blocked the black nether wind, 7 or 8 more violent nether winds swept over. A whimpering sound penetrated the everlasting blue Thunder City and tried to squeeze into Ning Cheng's sea of consciousness. Ning Cheng turned furious. He immediately brought out the celestial rainbow purgatory spear and rushed forward. At the same time, the everlasting blue Thunder City once again stretched out and shot out a thicker and denser thunder light. When he was in the life and death realm, he could only protect himself when attacked by this nether wind. But now, he was no longer a life and death cultivator who could only protect himself. The thunder light bombarded the black and violent nether wind, and the mournful whimpering sound grew even more intense. Coupled with the powerful spear intent from Ning Cheng's celestial rainbow purgatory spear, even the 7 or 8 violent nether winds dissipated under Ning Cheng's bombardment. Ning Cheng sped up and arrived at the opposite side of the stone arch bridge in a blink of an eye. A hollow voice emerged, "You killed my nether soldiers and stole my things. I didn't come looking for you, yet you dared to come to my territory. Courting death." As soon as Ning Cheng heard this voice, he realized that this was the fellow who chased after him last time. Instead, he felt relieved. If this fellow truly had the confidence to kill him in seconds, he probably wouldn't have spoken so much nonsense. Clenching the celestial rainbow purgatory spear, Ning Cheng stepped out of the first bridge of Coping and snorted, "Don't play tricks in front of me. When you chased after me, I said that I would come back and repay you tenfold. Now that I'm back, use whatever means you have. Otherwise, I will turn this place into nothingness." After Ning Cheng finished speaking, he raised his hand and shot out 2 time wheels. The time wheels rolled up bursts of Tao charm of time and swept out with a gray light. Everything in the way of the time wheels turned into nothingness. Under the faint gray light of the time wheels, Ning Cheng could see the scene on the other side of the bridge of Coping without using his spiritual consciousness. It was a land of rubble, mixed with some uneven black mounds, with pale bones and dark ash everywhere. As the time wheels swept through this rugged place, everything in front of him instantly turned into a flat river, without even the slightest protrusion. A skeleton-like black-robed man appeared in the range of Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness. Seeing Ning Cheng's time wheels sweep through this place, his withered gray eyes filled with disbelief. While the black-robed man looked at the place where Ning Cheng's time wheels swept through, Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness also fell on the black-robed skeleton-like man. Perhaps one couldn't say that he was a skeleton because he still had flesh on his body. Although the flesh and skin stuck to the bones, he wasn't a pure skeleton. The black-robed man covered his feet, making people wonder if he wasn't standing on the ground at all. Instead, he was hovering in the air. The black-robed man's black robe was obviously a good weapon, and Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness couldn't penetrate it. This is a laws of time-related spirit technique. The black-robed man took a deep breath and spoke up in shock after a while. Ning Cheng's celestial rainbow purgatory spear shot out with a void-tearing spear pattern before speaking up in a cold voice, "You're right. Today, I will turn you into a wisp of a dead soul." After seeing this black-robed man, Ning Cheng determined that this black-robed man was a cultivator, not a ghost cultivator or a Yin soul. Ning Cheng's traceless spear had long since evolved from the spear intent he had comprehended in the past. The spear intent he had comprehended in the everlasting Blue Thunder Fort had a mighty momentum that could even tear a planet apart. But after he comprehended the Tao law of returning to one, his traceless spear had long since evolved from that spear intent. Although Ning Cheng hadn't touched the laws of space yet, his spear could cross space and erase the distance of the attack in the shortest time. In addition, this spear also contained countless spear patterns. Each spear pattern not only restrained the opponent's killing power, but it also contained a spear intent that could tear through all obstacles around it. After Ning Cheng's understanding of this spear reached a certain level, these spear patterns would directly transform into the most powerful spear domain. Just like the five-colored star splitter arrow, it would first lock onto the opponent. "Stop!" the black-robed man shouted anxiously. At the same time, his black robe started to inflate like a balloon. Bang bang bang. The celestial rainbow purgatory spear's killing intent and the countless spear patterns all slammed into the black-robed man, making dull sounds. How could Ning Cheng stop? He vaguely felt that this black-robed man had a much lower cultivation compared to the last time he chased after him. For Ning Cheng, even if the other party's cultivation hadn't changed at all, he wouldn't stop. "I'm cultivating here, and I have no grievances with you. Yet, you snatched my things, and still act so aggressive." The black-robed man saw that Ning Cheng didn't want to stop and spoke up with a hateful tone. Ning Cheng stopped this time. His domain's imposing manner completely covered the black-robed man before speaking up in a cold voice, "No grievances. You snatched my companion beast, Grey Toot Toot, and you still dare to say that you have no grievances with me? Grey Toot Toot. That demonic beast with a trace of the god beast Zhu Fang's bloodline is yours?" the black-robed man asked in surprise. Ning Cheng had never heard of the god beast Zhu Fang before, so he asked in doubt, "What is the god beast Zhu Fang? Is Grey Toot Toot a descendant of Zhu Fang?" "No." The black-robed man spoke up with certainty, "Zhu Fang is extremely difficult to grow. It's a legendary top-grade god beast that can devour and simulate laws and spirit techniques. That Grey Toot Toot only has a trace of Zhu Fang's bloodline. It's not even the most ordinary starry sky beast, let alone a god beast." The black-robed man's words meant that Ning Cheng's companion beast couldn't even be considered as the most ordinary starry sky beast, let alone a god beast. The only valuable thing was that it contained a trace of Zhu Fang's bloodline. However, it was extremely difficult for an authentic Zhu Fang to grow up, not to mention Grey Toot Toot, which only contained a trace of its bloodline. Ning Cheng finally understood why Tsang Wei said that Grey Toot Toot was not bad. It turned out that it contained a trace of a god beast's bloodline. However, he wasn't in the mood to care about Zhu Fang. What he cared about was where Grey Toot Toot was. "Where is Grey Toot Toot? Tell me, maybe if I'm in a good mood, I'll let you go." As Ning Cheng spoke, his domain forcibly pressed down. Chapter 8:16. The black-robed man secretly complained. If he could go back a few years, he wouldn't feel afraid of Ning Cheng. "Your Grey Toot Toot isn't with me. Someone took it away." The black-robed man spoke up anxiously. When Ning Cheng brought out the time wheel and suppressed him with a powerful domain, he understood that he wasn't Ning Cheng's opponent. As Ning Cheng's domain grew stronger, he couldn't resist at this moment. Hearing that someone took away Grey Toot Toot, Ning Cheng's killing intent immediately surged up. The domain overflowed with murderous intent, and it suppressed the black-robed skeleton to the point of suffering. The black-robed man's cultivation had already fallen a lot. Now that Ning Cheng's powerful killing intent suppressed him, he found it difficult to even speak. Don't do it. If you kill me, you won't be able to find your companion beast. The black-robed man knew that this was his only chance of survival. Ning Cheng took in a deep breath and forcibly suppressed his killing intent before asking coldly, "Who took away Grey Toot Toot? What is this place? Is it the underworld?" Ning Cheng felt that this black-robed man didn't seem to be lying. However, he had already sealed the ancient shadow temple. Who else could come to this place? Feeling Ning Cheng restraining his killing intent, the black-robed man secretly breathed a sigh of relief and spoke up with a worried voice, "I can tell you all this, but you have to promise to spare me once." Ning Cheng sneered, "You're not qualified to bargain with me. If you don't say it, I can kill you right now. But if you say it, your life and death will depend on my mood." When the black-robed man heard Ning Cheng's words, his voice turned shrill, "Then you can kill me right now. I'd rather die than tell you. Since you want to die, then I'll fulfill your wish. I'll search your soul first and then destroy your spirit soul." After Ning Cheng finished speaking, the celestial rainbow purgatory spear turned into a substantial spear in tent. When the black-robed man heard the words soul search and spirit soul destruction, he no longer felt that shrill. Instead, he quickly called out, "You have to at least allow me to reincarnate before I tell you." Ning Cheng knew that he couldn't search the soul of a cultivator at the level of the black-robed man. But now that the black-robed man said that he would allow him to reincarnate, Ning Cheng thought about it and said, "Okay, in any case, I won't let your spiritual soul perish. I will allow you to reincarnate." The black-robed man fully understood Ning Cheng's ruthlessness and determination at this moment. But with his current cultivation, he couldn't compete with Ning Cheng at all. Therefore, he had no choice but to give in. This isn't the real underworld. Someone built this place to simulate the first bridge of the underworld to cultivate a spirit technique. That person spent a lot of effort, but could only build the first bridge of coping. He no longer had the ability to build the second bridge. The second bridge? What kind of spiritual technique is this? Ning Cheng felt a little curious. This place looked so vast and had spent so much effort on it, but it was actually built by someone else to simulate the Yin world for the purpose of cultivating divine abilities. The black-robed man replied, "The person who built this place is called Zhong Wuchen, and the spiritual technique he wants to cultivate is called the Seven Bridges. The Seven Bridges spiritual technique is the first bridge of coping, the second bridge of looking home, the third bridge of forgetting river, the fourth bridge of yellow springs, the fifth bridge of reincarnation, the sixth bridge of other shore, and the seventh bridge of reincarnation. It's a peerless spirit technique. I've stayed here for thousands of years, but I still couldn't cultivate the first bridge of coping, let alone the Seven Bridges spiritual technique." Ning Cheng felt a little shocked. If the first bridge of this spirit technique was so terrifying, then what kind of great spirit technique would it be if one successfully cultivated it? How many lives did this Zhong Wuchen kill to build the first bridge of coping? If he encountered this Seven Bridges spiritual technique, how long could he resist it? The black-robed man didn't know what Ning Cheng was thinking about and continued, "Zhong Wuchen built the first bridge of coping here. After cultivating for countless years, he realized that he couldn't cultivate the real Seven Bridges spiritual technique here. But after he left behind some things. One of the Yin souls developed spiritual wisdom after obtaining these things and finally became a ghost cultivator. The ancient Shadow Temple is a place that absorbs Yin souls. Therefore, the ancient Shadow Temple absorbs the Yin souls of countless fallen cultivators and provides them to that ghost cultivator for cultivation. That ghost cultivator saw Zhong Wuchen cultivating the Seven Bridges spiritual technique, and he also started cultivating the Seven Bridges spiritual technique here. Although that ghost cultivator only knew a little bit about it, he managed to cultivate it to a decent level. Then how did you get here? Where did that ghost cultivator go?" Seeing Grey Toot Toot being taken away, Ning Cheng's tone revealed some disappointment. The black-robed man replied, "I accidentally found the ancient Shadow Temple and came to this place. That ghost cultivator controlled me and asked me to help him collect the Yin souls that couldn't cross the coping bridge. The yin qi in this place is too heavy, and after a long time, my cultivation not only didn't improve, but also started to fall. I could only change my cultivation method and start using yin souls to cultivate. Fortunately, that ghost cultivator didn't want low-level yin souls at all. As long as he wanted high-level yin souls, my cultivation gradually rose. As the black-robed man spoke until here, he seemed to have fallen into the scene of being controlled by the ghost cultivator. I helped the ghost cultivator capture all kinds of yin souls here endlessly. I can only cultivate for a while in between. Fortunately, my aptitude is very good. Even so, my cultivation is constantly improving. Later, that ghost cultivator felt that the yin souls in this place were too low level. He asked me to attract cultivators with high cultivation and took 5 treasures. When Ningqing heard this, he understood a bit more, and then asked, "You mean to say that you were the one who placed the 5 treasures in the pentagonal hall?" The black-robed man nodded, "Yes, that ghost cultivator forced me to put them in. It's just that the method to control the pentagonal hall and the array formations of the earth gate fell into the hands of that ghost cultivator. Although I put those things in, I couldn't get them back by myself. Those things attracted many top-level cultivators to the ghost cultivator. The ghost cultivator then devoured the essence spirits of those top-level cultivators and put those things in. Until one day, I found a soul-suppressing card on a yin soul. When the ghost cultivator absorbed the yin souls for cultivation, I suddenly took action and used this soul-suppressing card to suppress the ghost cultivator. My cultivation was too different from that ghost cultivator. Although I managed to suppress him, the two of us still ended up in a stalemate. Moreover, the array formations of the entire ancient shadow temple were still under the control of that ghost cultivator. How did Grey Toot Toot come in? Ningqing asked again. The black-robed man replied, "It's because of a heaven cloud Ganoderma that had developed some spiritual wisdom." Grey Toot Toot found that heaven cloud Ganoderma. That heaven cloud Ganoderma fled into the ancient shadow temple, and Grey Toot Toot chased after it. Because I found that Grey Toot Toot wasn't simple, I lured it in. Speaking of which, that ghost cultivator also helped me a lot. If he hadn't opened the array formations, I wouldn't have been able to lure Grey Toot Toot inside. After knowing that Grey Toot Toot had a trace of Zhu Fang's bloodline, I tried to force that trace of bloodline out through various means, but to no avail. Ning Cheng's killing intent grew even stronger. No wonder that ghost soldier caught Grey Toot Toot on the futility bridge. It turned out that he wanted to force out Grey Toot Toot's bloodline. A few years ago, a group of you entered the ancient shadow temple and even came to the Yellow Spring Pond. Because the ghost cultivator didn't cooperate, he deliberately let the people who entered the life and death gate break the barrier. I had to stop those people from escaping, which consumed a lot of my energy. Plus, you took away the measureless gourd, which I valued the most. That's why I chased after you in a hurry. At this point, the black-robed man's eyes filled with regret. In the end, that ghost cultivator broke free, didn't he? Ning Qing asked in a cold voice. He finally understood why Chuan Xinlo and the others could come out after getting trapped. It turned out that someone had intentionally let them go. In other words, striking order and the others might not have fallen. The black-robed man sighed, yes, that ghost cultivator took the opportunity to break free from the soul-suppressing tablet. He also fought against me, severely injured me, and then snatched away Grey Toot Toot. He had a breaking boundary talisman, so I couldn't catch up to him. Ning Qing guessed that this black-robed man didn't lie. His strength had indeed fallen a lot. You know about the 7 Bridges spirit technique in Zhongwuchen. Did that ghost cultivator tell you about it? Ning Qing stared at the black-robed man. Yes, that's what he told me. The black-robed man could feel Ning Cheng's strong murderous intent. He knew that he couldn't survive today and didn't even bother to beg for mercy. He could only hope that Ning Cheng would keep his promise and allow him to reincarnate. What's the name of that ghost cultivator? His name is Ling Ji. That Zhong Wuchen built a mystic realm outside the ancient Shadow Temple. Did he want to let cultivators come in for a trial, and then take the opportunity to extract their souls? Yes, But later he felt that the cultivators who came in for the trial were too low-leveled, so he sealed the ancient shadow temple. After asking these questions, the celestial rainbow purgatory spear's spear intent, which had been locked onto the black-robed man, suddenly burst out and instantly turned the black-robed man into slag. Ning Qing still kept his promise and allowed the black-robed man to reincarnate with a wisp of his soul. Although he had never met Zhong Wuchen, Ning Qing knew that he was a ruthless person. To cultivate a spirit technique, he not only built a mystic realm, but he also built the Hell's Gate, the Yellow Spring Pond, the Life and Death Gate, the Bridge of Coping. From this, one could imagine how many souls had fallen here to form such a heavy yin qi. Otherwise, even if Zhong Wuchen's attainments in array formations had reached a high level, he couldn't have arranged the violent yin wind that could tear apart eternal cultivators. No wonder it was covered in snow all year round outside covered Snow City. With such heavy yin qi in this place, it would have been strange if there was no snow. After killing the black-robed cultivator, Ning Qing began to destroy everything under the ancient shadow temple. Although Ning Qing couldn't arrange those array formations, it didn't take him much effort to destroy them. The most powerful function of the time wheel was destruction. As the time wheel blasted out, Ning Qing destroyed not only the fake first bridge of coping but also the Yellow Spring Pond, the Life and Death Gate, the pitch-black public square, and the pentagonal hall. After Ning Qing destroyed these places and array formations, the yin qi began to dissipate. Ning Qing felt sure that as long as a few years passed, the yin qi in this place would dissipate completely. After doing all this, Ning Qing sealed the real ancient Shadow Temple's gate. As for the trial grounds outside the ancient Shadow Temple, Ning Qing left them intact. After leaving the ancient Shadow Temple again, Ning Qing felt completely relieved. He hadn't found Grey Toot Toot yet, but the threat of the ancient Shadow Temple had been removed. That Zhong Wuchen was simply a madman. To cultivate a spirit technique, he actually built such a huge place here. 7 Bridges Spirit Technique, it sounded quite scary, but Ning Qing didn't know what it was. Just as he thought of this, Ning Qing suddenly stopped. 7 Bridges Spirit Technique? He had obtained a wordless book from the Formless sect, which also had 7 pages. Over the past few years, when he went into seclusion in the mysterious Yellow sect, he had tried to refine it a little. However, he only knew that this book was called the 7 Bridges Realm Book. After that, he couldn't refine it. Were these 7 bridges related? Chapter 8:17. After Ning Qing returned to covered Snow City, the first thing he did was to go into seclusion to refine the 7 Bridges Realm Book. If this wordless book truly contained the 7 Bridges Spirit Technique, it definitely wouldn't be any weaker than the 5-colored Star Splitter arrow. To Ning Cheng's disappointment, even after 3 months of seclusion, the wordless book still had only a name. Apart from that, he didn't get anything else. In desperation, Ning Qing could only give up on refining the book. He couldn't spend all his time on it. He had to go to Thorn-Tooth Lake to study the teleportation array. Since Yan Ji had teleported away from Thorn-Tooth Lake, Ning Qing still couldn't feel at ease. As for mysterious Yellow Celestial River and Jiangzhou Star, Ning Qing knew that he didn't have to worry about them. What he did in Striking Order Starland and 9 Jewels Starry Sky might not have spread throughout Grand Culmination Starry Sky, but at least everyone around mysterious Yellow Celestial River knew about it. Even Chuan Xinlo didn't dare to come to Jiangzhou Star to find trouble with Ning Qing, so who would dare? One could say that Jiangzhou Star, or even mysterious Yellow Celestial River, was the safest place in this part of the starry sky. Of course, only a few people knew that Chuan Xinlo had left Grand Culmination Starry Sky. Night Essence Celestial River's Orchid Bane Stars Thorn-Tooth Lake. Ever since Ning Qing killed Shengguan Fei and Shengguan Xiang here a few years ago, few people came here. After Luo Xija completely took over 9 Jewels Starry Sky, Luo Xija listed this place as a forbidden area. Ning Qing had been working on the teleportation array under Thorn-Tooth Lake for 2 years now. Over the past 2 years, he had been constantly deducing various forms of teleportation arrays, trying to arrange a one-way teleportation array. Even if he couldn't teleport to the original location, he could at least teleport to a nearby location. Although Ning Cheng had the mysterious yellow formless, and few people could match his deduction ability, he still couldn't deduce the method to arrange a one-way teleportation array, let alone advance to the Array Dao Master realm. To help Ning Cheng, 9 Jewels Starry Sky Emperor Luo Xijia had collected the best Array Dao jade strips in the entire 9 Jewels Starry Sky. Unfortunately, these Array Dao jade strips couldn't help Ning Cheng reach the next level in the Array Dao. Even after studying array formations for several years, he still couldn't advance to the level of an Array Dao Master. This made Ning Cheng deeply understand the difficulties of becoming an Array Dao Master. From a Grade 7 Starry Sky Array Emperor to a Grade 9 Starry Sky Array, Starry Ning Cheng didn't spend much effort. However, the difficulty of advancing to become an Array Dao Master put Ning Cheng in a difficult situation for the first time. Fortunately, he didn't come up empty-handed. After years of studying the Tao of arrays, Ning Cheng realized that he still lacked the most important foundation to advance to the level of an Array Dao Master, the laws of space. No one was like him, who had come into contact with the laws of time for so long, but still hadn't touched the laws of space. In terms of complexity, the law of space was inferior to the law of time. In comparison, touching the law of space was much easier than touching the law of time. However, Ning Cheng touched the laws of time first. In the Tao of arrays, especially when it came to setting up ultra-long-distance teleportation arrays, the Array Master had to have a certain understanding of the laws of space. Otherwise, no matter how strong one's comprehension and deduction ability was, it would be in vain. If you want to fly, you must first have wings. It didn't matter if your wings were solid or in some other form. To come into contact with the laws of space, the most famous of the 4 Grand Starry Skies were the Grand Spirit Heaven Starry Skies Sky Ridge and the Demon Domain's Traceless Gate. The fame of these two places was comparable to that of Striking Order Starry Skies Time Wilderness. The difference was that the Time Wilderness was a place to comprehend the laws of time, while the Sky Ridge and the Traceless Gate were places to comprehend the laws of space. The Sky Ridge was filled with spatial collapses, spatial cracks, and spatial dislocations. It also had dense spatial blade lights. In fact, not many cultivators would go to this place to comprehend the laws of space. Going to the Sky Ridge was equivalent to holding one's head in one's hands. The Demon Domain's Traceless Gate looked safer than the Sky Ridge. Although there were no spatial dislocations here, the Traceless Gate had too many separate pockets. After entering one of these pockets, one's spiritual consciousness couldn't penetrate it. Sometimes, even if two people were close to each other, they couldn't see each other. Many cultivators who tried to comprehend the laws of space in the Traceless Gate never came out after entering. Only those who knew the inside story understood that the Traceless Gate was no less dangerous than the Sky Ridge. If Ning Cheng wanted to come into contact with the laws of space in the shortest time, he had to go to these two places. After thinking about it again and again, Ning Cheng decided to go to the Traceless Gate first. He had seen spatial dislocations and spatial collapses many times, but he couldn't comprehend any laws of space. On the contrary, Ning Cheng had only heard about the Traceless Gate but had never tried it. The Traceless Gate was a trial ground for comprehending the laws of space. However, not everyone could enter the Traceless Gate. Because the entrance to the Traceless Gate was guarded by the Traceless Immortal Pond, the Traceless Immortal Pond was a real sect. This sect was located in the Grand Demon Domain Starry Sky. If one wanted to enter the Traceless Gate's trial ground, one had to pass through this sect. Standing outside the Traceless Immortal Pond, Ning Cheng felt shocked. This place might not be as majestic as Chuan Xinluo's leveled Heart Emperor Mountain, but this place was definitely the largest sect he had ever seen. The 9 huge heaven-connecting array pillars explained everything. These heaven-connecting array pillars required a lot of top-grade materials, which required many artifact crafting and array formation grandmasters to arrange. Even on stately River Star, he wouldn't waste so much. Several suspended waterfalls appeared in the air, and Ning Cheng could tell that these waterfalls were the hidden array foundations of the sect. The majestic sound of the waterfalls indicated that this was a powerful sect, no weaker than any other place. This was just a corner of it. Ning Cheng, a peak-level array emperor, could easily tell that this kind of grand arrangement was everywhere in the traceless immortal pond. Ning Cheng had just observed for a while when a young female cultivator came out to receive him. After hearing Ning Cheng's intentions, she didn't ask any nonsense. She asked Ning Cheng to pay 100 permanent essence pills and directly brought Ning Cheng to the traceless immortal pond's guest room. Ning Cheng was famous in Grand Culmination Starry Sky. Even Devil Domain's Silent Bubble Starland had heard of Ning Cheng's name. But in Demon Domain's traceless immortal pond, Ning Cheng was truly unknown. No one had heard of him at all. Ning Cheng wasn't the only one who wanted to enter the traceless gate through the traceless immortal pond. When Ning Cheng arrived at the traceless immortal pond's guest room, 5 people were already waiting here, and he was the 6th. Most of the people who came here to comprehend the laws of space were reclusive cultivators. When Ning Cheng came in, the first 5 people in the guest room all had their eyes closed, and none of them spoke. Of these 5 people, 3 were male and 2 were female. Except for 1 in the heaven-seated realm, the other 4 were 2 in the life and death realm and 2 in the eternal realm. Among the 2 eternal cultivators, 1 was even at the late-stage eternal realm. Ning Cheng didn't like waiting here, but he had no other choice. The traceless gate was the territory of the traceless immortal pond. Therefore, he had no choice but to wait. Fortunately, Ning Cheng didn't have to wait long before a middle-aged female cultivator arrived at the guest room. When Ning Cheng saw this middle-aged female cultivator, he felt that the traceless immortal pond wasn't simple. This middle-aged female cultivator, who came out to receive guests, already had early-stage eternal cultivation. The middle-aged female cultivator cupped her fists towards Ning Cheng's group of 6 and said, "As the guardian sect of the Traceless Gate, my Traceless Immortal Pond would like to thank everyone for coming to the Traceless Gate to comprehend the laws of space. Although everyone already knows about it, I still have to say some words first. Since the establishment of the Traceless Immortal Pond, a total of 1,113,412 cultivators have entered the Traceless Gate, but a total of 90,378 people have come out unscathed. Of course, we don't know how many of these people managed to comprehend the laws of space. However, I can tell you one thing. Devil Domain Grand Starry Sky's Heavenly Emperor Qiao Jierui has entered the Traceless Gate. I believe that everyone knows about Heavenly Emperor Qiao Jierui's 5-colored myriad connecting banner, which came from the Traceless Gate. Moreover, I believe that few people in the 4 grand starry skies could match his control over the laws of space. Ning Cheng truly didn't know that Qiao Jierui had entered the Traceless Gate. However, Ning Cheng had seen the 5-colored myriad connecting banner before. It truly was a space-type weapon. Ning Cheng didn't care about Qiao Jierui's laws of space. Compared to the red-haired man he killed, Qiao Jierui's control over the laws of space was too weak. However, the survival rate of entering the Traceless Gate shocked Ning Cheng. It was less than 1/10. The other 5 people looked calm. Apparently, they all knew about the dangers of the Traceless Gate before coming here. Seeing the 6 people remaining silent, the middle-aged female cultivator continued, "Apart from paying 10,000 permanent essence pills to enter the Traceless Gate, there is another task." Ning Cheng asked in doubt, "Didn't we pay 100 permanent essence pills when we came in? Why do we still have to pay 10,000 permanent essence pills?" "This 10,000 permanent essence pills is the fee to enter the Traceless Gate. As for the 100 permanent essence pills, it's the reception fee." The middle-aged female cultivator glanced at Ning Cheng and spoke with a calm voice. Ning Cheng looked at the cup of spirit tea in front of him and couldn't help but think that it was too expensive. A cup of water cost 100 permanent essence pills. 10,000 permanent essence pills naturally didn't mean much to him. But with over 1 million people, how many permanent essence pills would it cost? No wonder the Traceless Immortal Pond was so rich. No. Even if 1 million people entered the Traceless Gate, the Traceless Immortal Pond wouldn't be this rich. After all, these million people didn't come here all at once. It was an accumulation of countless years. Ning Cheng was a top-notch artifact crafting emperor and a top-notch starry sky array emperor master. Therefore, he naturally understood how much money Traceless Immortal Pond spent to build it. From the looks of it, the Traceless Immortal Pond seemed to have other sources of income. While Ning Chen was thinking about it, the others had already handed over permanent essence pills. 2 cultivators didn't have enough permanent essence pills and used perpetual moon pills instead. Ning Chen didn't hesitate and directly took out 10,000 permanent essence pills and handed it over. He already had hundreds of millions of permanent essence pills on him. After putting away the permanent essence pills and perpetual moon pills handed over by the 6 people, the middle-aged female cultivator continued, "Many cultivators in the Traceless Gate never came out after entering, including many disciples of my Traceless Immortal Pond. Therefore, when you enter the Traceless Gate, you also have a mission. As long as you can find my Traceless Immortal Pond's disciples in the Traceless Gate and bring them out, we will reward you with at least 100,000 permanent essence pills. Even if the highest reward is 100 million permanent essence pills, my Traceless Immortal Pond will not be stingy."